There it is. Okay. Looks like the streams are coming on. All right, here come the tunes. And welcome to another geezer session of geezing, and it's going to be the Geezer Gala of 2024. I mean, what else would you expect? Because, we don't have anything better to do, and that's why you're here. So we have just said, at the end of this year, it's clear that there's been some good stuff and some bad stuff, some squirrely stuff, some sketchy stuff, and a bunch of hooey and all that in the middle. So we figured we might as well cast our votes for the best of, the worst of, and the most unexpected of, and all that kind of stuff. So you guys in the chat, feel free to jump in and toss in. We'll do some polls. I think I can do a poll. We are using the latest version of Riverside, which has gotten a whole bunch of updates. So we're kind of fumbling our way. I'm fumbling my way through it. So bear with us, or me, if I run into anything here. But we will do some polls. I think I can actually do it in YouTube, and let's see if that works. But anyway, here we are. It's the end of the year, 2024. Are you shitting me? I think that sounds like a T-shirt.
Doesn't time fly?
Well, so does brown stuff when it hits a whirly thing. Right?
Messy.
So, let's start off with just tossing out our top moments. I think I said in the email it was the biggest winners, the biggest losers, and the biggest event. So the loser is going to be a lot of fun. So we'll save that to last. because that's a rich field of targets for ridicule and mocking and all that wonderful stuff that's so much fun to do. And even when you do it, you kind of feel like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. And then, boy, do you feel good doing it, when when you tell them what you think, because they need to hear it because they weren't paying attention for the last couple of decades, and they got a big old wake up call, a cosmic bitch slap, and caused all kinds of chaos. And boy, is it fun to check them out and watch them. It's highly entertaining. So let's start with uh, the most unusual, the most unexpected event of 2024. What do you think was the most unexpected event in 2024? Terry, let's start with you. What do you think? You're muted.
Yeah, well, because the dog's barking in the background, trying to get his word in. The unexpected thing, in my reading the latest world situation, I mean, I was really surprised, which I think was a surprise to a point where it was a pretty much a letdown, really. It's when we hear about the Ukraine, we hear about what's happening in the Middle East and stuff like that. But there's 118 other countries at this present moment at war in South Africa, around the African regions, Sudan, through to Sudan, right through. I mean, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people are dying, but yeah, Ukraine and Israel is getting all the news, but everybody's oblivious to what is happening to the rest of the world. And it's like the rest of the world's gone freaking crazy. They're all Fruit Loops and they're all taking sides. And of course, the only winners out of this is the global banking cartel and the military-industrial complex, because they're selling all their shit to both sides, wherever the conflict's going. But that's where I'm at the moment.
What was unexpected about that? That doesn't sound very unexpected.
Is,
we've all known that these guys have been doing this shit for decades.
Oh yeah.
What was unexpected in your mind?
Well, what was unexpected to me is how the media only covered the Ukraine, only covered what's happening in Israel and on the Gaza Strip and all that shit, you know what I mean? But they don't talk about all the other shit that's going on in the rest of the world. I mean, if people have really got to start, I mean, virtually the world is at a what I call another world war. And it's already happening now. It's not necessarily official. It's what they call, it's a surrogate war where the Russians and the Chinese and the North Koreans are providing weapons and everything to the Russians, and they're sending Korean troops into whatever, and Americans and the Allied forces, what they call NATO, are sending weapons and money into the Ukraine, and it's like everybody's warring, but it's only between technically, officially, it's only between the Russians and the Ukrainians, but really it's between America, United Nations, well not United, the NATO's, between China, North Korea, Russia, and all their allies. They're all got their role to play in it, but they're surrogates. They're just kind of say, okay, we're all there, but we just kind of push the shit in there, but they're in the fight, but not fighting. You know what I mean? And it's they're using surrogates. That's what I'm finding amazing.
So, okay, I'm a little confused, and I'm really
okay.
I'm gonna
That's
apologize to everybody.
No, that's
I'm
all
gonna
right.
apologize to everybody in advance because I'm going to ask a couple of more questions of Terry.
Yeah,
Because here it comes.
yeah, go for it. Go for it.
All right. So, as you know, see, Jim, the screen comes up. Even using my hotspot, no internet. So Jim's still having internet problems. So hopefully that'll get fixed and he'll jump on. All right. So let's go back to the premise of the question was the most unexpected event.
Yes. and it was
And
unexpected.
everything that you just laid out, unless I'm missing something, was everything we already knew was happening,
Mm.
and that I don't see anything unexpected in that. So I'm
What
trying to
I
figure
find
out.
unexpected is basically, no, make it quite clear, all the rest of the world's problems, like what's happened in the Sudan and all these other countries, right? They're not talking about it. That's the surprise. And that everybody should. And what is a surprise? What is the United Nations doing? You know, what's the big? What are they there for?
Well, okay, so all right,
That's a surprise. You
so
know, I mean, it surprised me that no
okay,
one's doing jack shit or reporting it
okay,
as we
so
speak. You know?
I'll just so now I understand. So I'll just tell you why that wasn't a surprise to me, because you could see it coming for the last decade or two. All of the United Nations, NATO, all of this bullshit is a bunch of cocked up crap for the characters of the time of what they were trying to herd and manage and manipulate. And it's always been through conflict, and it's always been through some kind of, apparently there's some pesky people in different places who need to be either amplified or removed, like going in and changing governments, changing political regimes, changing overthrows of countries. The entire model has been based around this control, this administrative control using military shit, basically. But they've gotten a lot more subversive because they realize that it's not difficult to go take over other places when you start from the inside and work out. You get your subversives, you plant your seeds, and you do all, which is basically what's happened to the United States over the last 60 plus years at a minimum. So, knowing all of those things, or at least having that as my opinion and perspective and filter with which I'm looking at all of the shit you just went on about, I'm just looking at it going, yeah, I saw that. It's finally what's, I think it's not even unexpected for me as much as it was the magnitude of it happening was the fact that people were going to realize that all of the shit they've been told for the last few decades is bullshit. Literally everything is bullshit. Everything. Pick a category: government, education, academia, entertainment, media, technology, uh, all of the our medical system is complete bullshit. Our food system is complete bullshit. And it's all been contributing to the sad state of affairs, both physically and mentally, that's is once they get people into that chaotic state in your body and in your mind, it's easy to hurt them because they're so screwed up they can't get the gyroscope kind of lined up because you're bombarded with bullshit and you've consumed all this bullshit, which has turned you into a little robot, a little, you're a guided, programmed meat suit. And that, I knew that was coming. My biggest unexpected thing was how quickly and definitively that information and awareness happened. That's when I went, okay, I thought this was going to take a little bit longer than it did. But the awareness that all the shit that causes all the crap that you were complaining about is getting revealed. So all of the cause of the problems you were talking about, the symptoms, that's being removed. I would think that the symptoms are probably going to be lessened. What
Yeah.
do you think?
The amazing thing is that there's 118 other countries at war, and nobody talks about it. You know, and that's what surprised me more
Well,
so.
there's a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah, well,
If you're talking about the
unfortunately, the media,
mainstream,
the
yeah, if
media,
you're talking about the legacy media is just
yeah,
got its ass handed to it. That's
yeah,
another thing that's completely broke. So there's the new rise of the new media, stuff like what we're doing, and all these other cats that have been doing it, pioneering it. I think I said it on the last show we did. I don't be surprised if one of the first press conferences has all of the legacy guys, the ABCs, NBCs, the New York Times, Wall Street Journals are going to be a row back, and in that front row is going to be a bunch of podcasters. Like, don't be surprised you see Rogan and Carlson and Brand. all these people are going to end up in the front row in the press conference. And I can't remember the woman's name that has been nominated as press secretary. I'd never heard of her, but I saw a clip of her and I went, all right, there's a bulldog. She's not going to take any shit. So this is, I think, going to be just awesome. It's the beginning of the collapse of the crap that has caused the stuff that you're complaining about, is my point. Nobody's talking about it because those people aren't talking about it, but there's a whole nother media of people that are talking about it. And that's where people are making the shift to the data feeds that they're getting. They've realized there's this thing that's been growing for a while. Now they realize how powerful and awesome it is and how much diversity there is, that it's now credibility that is going to be what is going to draw people. One of the reasons for the shift to this new platform, this new media model, is because there are all these different people who have been doing it long enough that they've got a track record that people look at and assign credibility to it. It's like, yeah, they've been pretty good so far. They haven't stirred me wrong. Hasn't They might get shit wrong, but it doesn't mean they're not a good source of information. So there's this rise of all these new places. You can go to all kinds of groups on social media and you can have all the fucking conversations you want about Ukraine, about Somalia, about fucking Sudan. There's basically self-organizing collectives are enabled through this kind of technology. People of different interests can find other people of the similar interest, and then they form their little community and they're making their own little content. That's the wave of the future, in my opinion. And so I'm enjoying the shit out of watching the complete collapse of the legacy media. 50% viewership across the board in the toilet, salaries and packages cut. And some of them are actually saying, well, we're going to leave the legacy. We're going to go do this podcast thing. And so they're off. What's the guy that the guy was at Fox, and then Chris Wallace. So he's leaving CNN, going to go this podcast thing. He's 78 years old.
He's gonna go do the podcasting now, huh?
That's right.
That's where I pretty much get my news is from podcasts. I don't get it from mainstream media.
Well, my final word on this is, Robert, is okay, folks. The World War Three's already started. We just haven't got to the finale yet, so, and I'll just leave it at that. So
Well, we that's another subject for the future, because I don't think we're going to have any World War III or any of that shit. But we'll talk about that on the next segment. Clay, what was the most unsuspecting thing in your mind?
Unexpecting, unsuspecting.
You didn't unsuspected.
I would probably say what's happening now over New Jersey with the drones and all of the orbs and stuff people are seeing. I personally didn't expect that to happen so soon. Now, I kind of believe in the blue beam theory and things happening in the future, but for it happening right now, that was definitely unexpected. For me, I wasn't expecting that, especially after all the political mumbo jumbo that we've been through in the last 6 months. So that was unexpected for me, for sure.
So we talked about that back in August when we made our future prediction for next summer, and we brought up the whole UFO thing. Do you think we'll have the official disclosure, contact, whatever they want to call it, exposure of their lies, shall we say? And I think we were all kind of, if I remember correctly, we were all kind of leaning into after the new year before we would see anything. So I agree with you. That came sooner than I expected as well. G?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say the drones showing up, and now they're showing up and spreading out. But I don't really consider that to be an ET phenomenon or anything. I think that's all man-made craft, either ours or somebody else's, or in conjunction with re-engineering or reverse engineering.
I think it's
So
ours.
I think the false narrative of the ETs is yet to come.
Yeah. Did you guys read that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming either. Um, I think here's an interesting. Let's go ahead and since we all kind of seem to be, except for Terry, because he's down there where the news comes slower and they're. What is it? It takes a month to get down there, right, T? Is that how long it takes to get down to Australia from here?
He's just not following the right podcasters, evidently.
Oh, I like it.
So
Yes.
so let's go ahead and let's stay on this drone thing and kind of get that out of the way because it's nothing. There's a shitload of speculation. Obviously, the more time you get more data and more information, you look at it and you go, well, it's starting to add up to things. One of the more interesting ones that I've heard. Tell me if you guys have heard this. So yes, the majority, if not all, of the craft that are being seen are ours. They are our tech, our origin, etc. Um, Leading up to that, one of the ideas was that it was one of the reasons it showed up now is because it was end of year, and these guys had to get their contract signed, and so they had to do a demo. And what better way to demo than to do it out in public? And it was kind of like a drone wars, where they're all competing for the contracts. And I thought, well, okay, that sounds kind of interesting. But yeah, I think Mr. Goodall is finally going to be able to get in. Maybe.
Hi, Heidi. Good to see you. Claudette. B January 2025. Ghost Lore. Roger. Good to see you guys. Jane.
So this
Good to
is
see you.
so I found this
Hi,
one
Heidi.
kind of interesting. Hey, here she is. Hey, Heidi. So yes, I think that they're all ours. But one of the reasons that they're up, the whole thing about scanning for some material, some frequency,
Missing
nuclear,
radioactive
whatever.
something or other.
Yeah, all that stuff. Okay, yeah, I can see that, but you don't need to do it at night only from certain times. There was a lot of inconsistencies with kind of a pattern that would support something like that. But the randomness of it, and a majority of them seem to look like some kind of fixed wing craft. They have wings and they got a fuselage, and they, oddly enough, apparently checked in with the FAA when they did their lighting mounts because they're literally FAA approved lighting, blinking red, green. They got other lights, but they got the approved. So
Yes, they got the essentials.
That's kind of what
yeah,
threw me off is like they have lights on them. Why would, alien craft from other planets show up here with lights? What do they need lights for in space?
well, and aside from all of the other hyperdimensional physics and things that are in the technology that's not ours, although we do have some of that. Some of the plasma physics and torsion physics is why the TRB-3 can perform as it does. But it's not, it can't go zip in and out and materialize and dematerialize. It's another ball of wax that our physics ain't ready for. But here was the other idea. The drones are ours. They're out at certain times of night. They seem to meet all the regulations and requirements, specifications. They hover about, and they seem to be kind of not necessarily in a pattern, but they do regional shit, right? We're going to go do a little swarm over here, and then we're going to do a little swarm over there, right? Odd kind of behaviors. Is there any correlation to the locations that they hover over? Has anybody done any forensic work about what is there any commonalities,
The
characteristics?
military bases.
So this idea, yeah. So this idea added this, that they are ours. They are out doing specific maneuvers in certain places because they're trying to interact with either on a negative side or a positive side with the space aliens. So they're trying to do one of two things. They're either they know that the space aliens are out there and they're trying to go interact with them, and this is the technology they're bringing to do that. Or they know that they're out there and they're trying to attract them to engage with them. So it's not just, so apparently whatever the location is and whatever else they think they got going on, they're trying to use it as they're trying to camouflage what they're doing by showing us drones, and what they're really doing is trying to engage with the ETs.
Well, some of the videos I've been seeing where they concentrate on the drones and saying those are the ETs, I've noticed that some people have been noticing orbs along with the drones that could be something else.
Right.
So
Yes,
are
it
they
could be,
mixture of
it could be
things.
just a
those,
distraction
or-
to take your mind off something else.
And I shouted everybody else out in the Bauer Media channel, but I didn't shout anybody over on the Nexus. Jennifer in
Oh.
Bucks is over on the Nexus channel, so hi, Jennifer. Good to see you. Didn't want to miss
Are they
you
not
either.
showing up in the Riverside chat?
I
Let's
don't
see
think
here.
Jennifer's talked in a while, so she would have been at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah, Jennifer is in the Riverside chat. The Riverside chat wasn't working for me for a minute.
Ah,
Maybe
Yeah,
it just took a minute to load it.
yeah, it looks like everybody's in there.
Good, we
So,
can close all these other windows.
so that's a good point. Gee, is that, there's a variety of shapes. There's either the orb model, there's some kind of light
Plasma.
undulation,
They're
plasma kind of
calling it
thing,
Plasma, yeah.
right? And then there's the rest of them are these fixed wing models with FAA approved lights. There you go. And now, what is it? Why would that be something that you would draw attention to? And to the point Mr. B was talking about is it is a distraction.
Now,
A distraction from what
here's an idea.
would be a good question. What do you got, Clay?
Here's an idea. So, we got this thing happening in Ukraine. Russia drops these Orishniks or whatever they're called. There's some pretty scary weapons. I've never seen anything like that before. I don't think the world has seen anything like that before. So Russia flexes their muscle with these Oreshnik missiles, says, oh yeah, look what we got. So all of a sudden, now all of these UFOs and orbs appear. Is America flexing their muscles and saying, well, yeah, look what we got?
So that raises the question in my mind if they were adversarial. Obviously, some from someone else, whether they're doing intel or they are an actual threat. Why isn't there any activity to take them down or to capture them? Why is it a complete hands off and nobody's going after these things? The military says they're not a threat, but they're not ours. It's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. You can't tell. So what is it then?
It doesn't
If
make
it's someone
sense if-
else's,
It doesn't make sense, sorry, Rob. It doesn't make sense if they allow these objects to fly over their base, which in some cases they are flying over U.S. Air Force.
they're
bases.
flying over wherever they want. They're flying with
Yes.
impunity.
Yeah, that's right. But why aren't they shooting them down? I mean, if it was a Russian or Chinese, of course, straight away they'll shoot it down.
Yeah, right. Are we being invaded? I don't know. A Chinese balloon floated across our whole country practically. So,
Yeah, until at the end they had to do something about it, of course. But over a military base, You think, with
Yeah.
security and everything. I mean, what if they drones? What are these drones carrying? I mean, obviously they've got to be friendlies to allow them to kind of stay up there above the Air Force bases. So, hey, I got no answers for it, but hey, it just sounds very suspicious to me.
I'm curious what's happening at the top of Devil's Tower in Wyoming right now.
Hmm.
Hey, it reminds me of that. Was it Close Encounter of the Third Kind, where they actually used the lights to for the aliens?
Is there something going on Devil's Tower?
Not no, but I
No.
see.
You're just thinking, okay,
Yeah.
somebody should have some live cams on that thing. Keep an eye out, see what's going on. Yeah.
I'm surprised somebody
Yeah.
hasn't made an AI video off of Devil's Tower and say, look what's happening.
They're
I
here
wonder what's
too.
on the old Simpsons movies, cartoons.
Yeah, what
We
did the
ain't gonna watch
Simpsons
the
predict?
Simpsons. They might tell us what the answers are.
When is this here? Oh, Claudette. Karen's in the house. Good evening, my dear. And Claudette said, what did she say here?
North of
Karen.
Toronto, where I videotaped the orbs.
Yeah.
Oh.
G'day, Claudette.
Now,
Well, if you got a
best
link for
video,
that.
and Jane brought it up in chat, the best video that we've seen is where you had the drones or what we thought were drones and orbs show up, and then all of a sudden you see the big flash, and then the drone just falls straight down.
Mm.
Well, I've seen a video too of somebody shooting their gun at it, shooting tracer rounds at it with their AK or something.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah. Well, Mr. MBB333 has got some great stuff.
I think
Yeah.
maybe that's where I seen that actually.
Yeah, he gets everybody's sending him shit. It's awesome. He just goes, "Hey, send it to me," and he makes a video of it. Great model. But
Makes me laugh.
he gets some of the best footage out there. Did you guys see the Cousin Brothers' latest video?
Yes, excellent.
No.
Oh, they've got some great footage. It's kind of like that one. Who was it that shared the video? Your friend G, that going down the road and the UFO
Oh, right,
going off
yeah.
into the. So
Wow.
the latest one on Cousin Brothers is got that same kind of thing,
Really?
but it's right up in the sky. Yeah, it's amazing.
Corey Cole, I think, is who it was the night we were on.
That sounds right. Yeah. Well, where do you guys think this, since we're kind of meandering off on this, where do you think this is going to go? Do you think we're going to see more of it? And where do you think that it's likely going? Let's start with you, B.
Yeah, most definitely it'll keep happening. And of course, the military will give another speech as normal. Nothing will happen. Yeah, again, it's keeping everybody in ufology kind of preoccupied, and of course, our focus is taken off other things. Yeah, it'll keep happening. I honestly believe it will. It's a distraction, and it's getting attention, lots of attention, more attention than what it really deserves, quite honestly.
Well, what is it distracting us from?
Who knows, mate? What's happening on the ground? While we're looking up, something could be being transported around that may not look so obvious, but who
Well,
knows?
do you
I
think
don't
it would
know.
have anything to do with the global collapse of all of the idiots?
Yeah, well, who knows, mate? You get people's attention on one thing, they're not thinking about other things. You know what I mean? That's basically like it's like
Wait a minute. Wait, B. You're sounding. You're going on that stereotype of men can only concentrate on one thing at a time, and
yeah, no,
that's
well,
not true. We can do
no.
at least two at the same time.
Well, when you get my age, mate, I've got to focus on
Yeah.
one thing, otherwise I'll lose it. It's called getting a bit slightly dementia. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, well we can tell by the color of your cheeks. You've got that demented thing going on. So all right, so you don't think this is gonna go? Where's it gonna go? I mean, right now it's a distraction. Do you think that this is they're gonna keep doing it and use it as a distraction, or is it gonna turn into something else?
I think it might turn into something else. I don't know what though. It will turn into something else. They'll have an answer for everybody. You know, they will, and it'll all kind of fizzle away like a bad fart. To be honest, that's exactly how it will be.
So are you? It sounds to me you're kind of leaning on they're going to keep it going until we just get used to it,
Yeah, we'll get fed up with it. It's like
and just go okay, put up with it, and it's like, well, that's just what's going on, and
Yeah,
okay,
I mean, it's like
all right,
when,
well,
it's like with the Congress. Like we hear the Congress every time you hear about Congress, it's a sensationalism, and all suddenly it turns out to be nothing. And this is exactly what's going to happen with this. That's my opinion. That's only mine.
all right, well, Clay, try to follow that bit of whatever that was.
What was the
Are you?
question again?
Lucky I had my microphone off. Then you would have heard me swear.
We were we were expanding on the drone thing. We had kind of gone around the horn what we think it is, and
It was
and it's
definitely well.
it's clearly a
definitely-
whole bunch of different things, right? There's
Yeah.
more than one thing at play. This isn't just aliens and ETs and our shit and their shit and somebody else's shit. There's a whole nother level of this stuff going on here, in my opinion. And so the projection, where do we think it's going to go? I unfortunately asked B, and I can't even remember what he said because I fell asleep when he started talking. Did you hear
There
what
could
I
be-
just said?
Look, right, yes, I heard, but listen to you. Now, listen to you. You long-haired yobbo. Listen.
Hey.
Well,
Hey,
Mr.
listen.
B had,
So-
made a point that if they weren't American made or American affiliated, they wouldn't just be hanging out over our military bases. You
Exactly.
know.
Yeah,
Not
it has
just
to
let
be
people hang
American.
out. Yeah.
American and ours. It's not somebody else's and theirs.
They also could be testing out new technologies for night vision, for sniping, for weaponry, as like on an exercise. Like, hey, we put drones up. Now, these drones could be military drones that do specific jobs, search and destroy sort of exercises. I mean, who knows? I mean, you have
Or
naval
search and
exercises. You have naval exercises. You have army exercises. Now, these are drone exercises. And that's what we could be doing, testing out the new technologies within the drones. Who's to say?
Well, if it's
And
new
it's over naval
technology,
and
they're
military
not going to
base.
show it to us. I mean,
No,
this
they're not
has
going to show.
this
No,
has
no,
to
they
be
won't
their
show
own.
what they're actually doing because the technology's built inside.
Whoops.
Oh, where at? No, it could be like a radar array. It could be an infrared type technology. It could be anything that's incorporated within these drones. You don't necessarily see it and look at it, you know.
I think they put all these drones up there to test new radar and technology to track stuff across the UAS in case somebody tries to invade us that way.
And
Are
it
you
could
trying
be
to share something, Clay?
Yeah, I'm just getting that ready. The top 10.
Yeah, it keeps
Video
flashing
ready.
up every once in a while.
Yeah, we've got a big black box.
I don't have
Um,
anything up there right now.
Oh, well, there's a big black box up there.
It came up and then
We're-
it went away on my end, so I just see you guys. That's all I see now.
If we watch
Okay.
it now, I can pull it
I
up
see.
again.
I see everybody.
Yeah, let me pull it
Let's
up
see.
again. We can watch it now. Here we go. This is only a minute and 50 seconds. Now, keep in mind, this is Chat GPT. Now, we can stop at the end and go back through some of these and discuss them if you guys want to, but I really only spent like 10 minutes putting this together, so here we go. Now, granted, that's according to ChatGPT. That was the top 10 news stories 2024.
Well, you know what I have to say about that? As
That's a fizzler. That's a
Right?
letdown.
Are you going to play? Come on now. Well, it's deciding that it's got a little hang up going on, so
Come on out to play. Come on.
it's not wanting to come out. All right. So, oh man,
That was a lot in there.
that I think that was a very pop culture list.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So you can see where the programming in the natural language processing had its guardrails, or it had its preferences that gave it guardrails.
Well, I noticed today when I was creating that video, ChatGPT now gives you the links to the stories. So when I hit enter and all of the information came up, they all had links to where the story came from, which I'd never seen that before. I'm like, oh, this is new.
Well,
They're
yeah.
giving you links now.
They want to make
Okay.
sure you go
Well-
and spread their information, not go somewhere else and find it.
Yeah, and see the thing that people are starting to become aware of, which we've been talking about because we know how AI actually works, and the key that everybody's talking about is training. Right? You have to give it data so it can train on it, which they call learning, but that's not what it's doing. It's just it's creating more patterns that are around a certain subject or a certain task to do it as efficiently as possible. That's why you have a whole bunch of individual AI image creators, video creators, audio creators, music creators, and now you're starting to get all-in-ones, which is where it's going to go. But that's before. I'm not going to take the bait and squirrel down that nugget, chase that sumbitch. Let's stay on this topic here of what is the. Let's go back to the original questions because we kind of got squirreled, and thanks to Mr. B, that's we know
You
that.
blame me for everything.
Well, it's your turn in the barrel, buddy, and.
Okay, I also got a Chat GPT top 10 worst of 2024 video as well.
Maybe
You're
it's
right.
Well,
the
let's
same
go ahead and take. Yeah.
Do you want to take a look at that?
Let's
You're
see
right.
what
It didn't take me long to create it. I created it at the beginning of the show, so.
Oh shit! I'm way chat back.
Oh, I got to do the window.
Where are we? Have I got all the way down?
There we go.
There we go. Don't hear anything.
No, you're not hearing anything?
No.
Not a bit.
I must have chosen the wrong window here. I'll have to do the whole screen here. There we go. You should be able to hear this one now. Let's try that again.
Coming in hot. What did you do the graphics with, Clay?
Filmora.
So you just brought the audio in, Filmora did the graphics, that's it?
Well, the graphics, like this graphic here, the condensed reality, I had Ideogram created that. According to ChatGPT.
So where is Queensland? Is that a place on the planet that had some disaster?
I didn't
hear
know
about
anything
that.
about it either, but apparently the North Queensland disasters
Is that down under, or where the hell did that
that's what
come?
I would think it would be down under.
Queensland, yes, it's in the eastern states.
I know they've been
So
dealing with like
was there a
flooding
big
and fires.
disaster there this year?
I haven't heard of anything, I'll be honest with you.
Flooding and fires.
So
Oh,
where the fuck
flooding,
did
yeah, they do it.
where did it come up with that?
But they always have floods up there, you know, especially during the winter months, you know. They always do.
Maybe
Through the
Mr.
farmlands.
B's news channel hasn't got it to him yet.
Hey, payback, Gerald. Hey, payback's going to be tough, mate. No, actually, well, I suppose it's when something happens all the time, you really don't take big deal with it. You know what I mean?
Hey Claudette, usually when you're sending like video files through email, it'll tell you that it exceeds the 25 megabyte thing. It always does that. We kind of deal with that as content creators ourselves. What you have to do is you'll just share the file, and you'll give like Robert access to the file, and he'll be able to download it from
Google
from you.
Drive or whatever.
Yeah,
you
from
choose.
your
Google,
drive.
yeah, Google Drive, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like those lists, but I would say the presidential election and all that went on that whole time was my number one. My number two would probably be right now would be the drones, but before that it would have been the hurricane that came up in the states and caused a disaster in all them places. Then with the government stepping in and taking over and all that stuff going on, and it's still going on.
So you're saying everything around the election, the assassination through the election,
Yeah,
the
because we covered all
collapse.
that as it was ongoing. So that was
Oh
our
yeah.
number one
Yeah.
story for a long time,
Hmm.
and I think it still is because we got to get to the inauguration, and I still think they have some sneaky stuff that they're going to try to plan. And at one time, I thought maybe the drones was part of that to try to delay the inauguration, but I've heard that out there, but I don't know.
Man, maybe it still is. Who knows? I mean, well, I guess if that was the case, maybe somebody would say something because that seems like an awfully big task just for the Democrats to do. You know what I mean? I think I think the UFOs are above that, just way beyond that.
All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and remind everybody what we've been talking about. And I've rambled on ad nauseum, and that is the state of the stuff that's going on. The people that have been running and ruling and ruining all this shit over the last couple of decades, and in particular the last 10 years, all of the energy that they were using to do their rule is not with them anymore. In fact, it's not only not with them, the people at the top bailed a while back, at least some of the top ones, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. They said, this shit's not going to work out. We're out. And leaving only the second, third, and lower level commanders and generals and shit to herd the troops. But none of those people have any competence. In fact, everything that they've done shows a complete lack of any kind of foresight, any kind of forethought, any planning, any tactics based on any kind of planning. No strategy whatsoever. It's all just everything that has been implemented by the people that were in control has fallen apart and broken. Period. And that is what I think was the underline. That's what I called it 2 years ago, almost three. The rise of the pissed off peeps. There was an awareness of common sense where bullshit meters were able to finally ease back from being pegged in the red all the time, because there was clearly what was causing the meters to be pegged was shit that wasn't working, and it needed to be changed. And people don't really, a lot of them weren't even thinking about it. It wasn't a conscious gymnastics of trying to figure out what does this mean. You just kind of went that way. They gravitated, they resonated. Others were more awake and were paying attention to what was going on. And then there was a whole bunch of us woo folks that were sitting back going, my God, it's finally, the curtains, the drapes, everything's been pulled back, and everybody can see the same shit, and they all have basically the same reaction, which is, well, that doesn't look very good. The track record. What's this? We need to see results. Your track record is just littered with debris of all of your failures and all of the shit that you have done. And this covers every spectrum: science, theology, philosophy, technology, academia, all of them. Anybody who is an expert used to be trusted, is now a suspect.
Claudette thinks the email went through. She sent you a video.
Oh, sweet. All right.
Yeah, usually
So
if
that's
it's over 25 megabytes, Claudette, we usually will send a link. It'll ask you, do you want to send this person a link? You can send them a link, and then after you send them a link, you grant them access to be able to download it. And then, that's how
it hasn't come through yet. I haven't seen it in there yet.
Well, it probably uploads on her end, then it's got to do the same for your end for you to be able to access it.
So anyway, I'm sorry I went off on that rant of it. Basically, the whole thing is we're watching a whole bunch of incompetent, inept, mentally infected idiots who have been running everything fall apart. I think the whole drone thing is, like I think you were mentioning, Terry, it's above their pay grade. It's above their skill set. They might have access to it and might want to try, but they haven't got a clue what to do with it. And any of the stuff they've got left in their little bag of tricks, a lot of that has been identified by the people who are going to keep that from happening. Because these people are inept not only in planning and execution, but they're inept in keeping their shit under wraps. They're sloppy when they move their shit around and do stuff. And when people have an idea that they might be doing this or having that and they know what to look for, all the telemetry now is ridiculous. So that's the other thing about the drones. There's a shitload of telemetry that can be going on with these craft, whatever they are. It doesn't seem to have any pattern to it other than the grouping. There's pattern in timing and frequency and all of that, and the amount of time that they do it. But I don't know. It seems like I'm kind of leaning towards this. It's ours. It's our tech. It's our guys doing it. That's why our military isn't doing anything about it, because it's theirs. They just can't admit that it's theirs. But the
And they want to
reason
get
that
the
they're
public's
doing
attention. Sorry.
well, I think that may be part of it, but I think there's a bunch other layers of this. I think there is some tactical immediacy of it being here,
The thing
not
about
just
it,
to get our attention.
the
Go
thing
ahead.
about it is, you're not seeing anything about these drones on mainstream media. Now, I've been looking on all the news channels around here. I haven't heard a zip, a word, or nothing about it. I think a big portion of America doesn't even know that they exist. We know they exist because we get our news sources from other places than mainstream media. But I haven't seen the news yet, mainstream media talk about drones.
Just the morning meetings for the press at the White House, they've been mentioning it, and that's about it. Other than that, you don't see it. Unless
you
you're
don't see it.
online, where TikTok, Instagram, wherever you get your stuff from.
Yeah, social media. That's where I'm seeing all of this stuff,
Yeah.
not mainstream media.
And no hard questions being thrown at the issue.
Well, that's because that's all of that is the legacy media that's crumbling and being replaced. You're not going to hear anything that what you need to hear. You're not going to hear there, basically.
Right.
That's why they've, at a minimum, and I'm wondering how much of it was bots, but at a minimum, all of the legacy folks have lost 50% of their viewers in the key demos. The 24 to 55 or something. People are tuning it out. So their business model was eyeballs. Eyeballs is what the advertisers paid the airwaves to get their stuff on, and that's where they made their money, right? Well, if there's no eyeballs there, the advertisers are going to have to find someplace else. Yeah, a good podcast, Tucker Carlson is going to have $1 million or $2 million on an episode, or at least a month, and the Food Network reruns of the Martha Stewart on the Food Network is getting more blew out CNN in prime time.
Yeah.
So that all of that is changing. So Terry, I know you like to just wank on about shit that irritates the hell out of you and how the inequality in it just chaps your ass. But it's really about to me, there's a sea change of shit that everything that we've been complaining about is going to get affected. A lot of it is going to just get naturally swept up and swept away. And some of it's going to go easily, some of it not so easily. But it's all going to move because it can't function in the energy frequencies that are unfolding. It won't be able to exist in that realm.
Well, I'm more interested in what's going to unfold once Donald Trump at the inauguration. What is he going to reveal as a president? What kind of turd is he going to throw on that table and say, okay, this is it, you know?
Well,
I mean,
he promised some stuff. I kind of I'm kind of demanding that he follows through with what he said he was going to do.
Well, and this is part of this great reveal that we've been in. The shit that's going to come out this over this next couple of years, and actually some of it will take 10, but the next few years is going to be so, especially next spring, I think, maybe sooner. There's going to be stuff that it's not of the disclosure exposure necessarily nature. It'll be all of the stuff, all of the stories and the corruption and the crap that was happening, and it's going to be so blatant that people are really going to look at stuff and go, "Oh, wait a minute, you people did what?" And a lot of it will go through the whole thing with Trump, all of the lawfare, trying to bankrupt him, jail him, impeach him. I mean, this guy, and then of course, take a shot at him. I'll tell you what, anybody can go through that kind of stuff. I want what he's doing, because that is serious cojones.
Well,
He
obviously,
got the juice.
look, obviously, I saw an interview when somebody actually said to Donald Trump, says, "Look, about the alien issue, the UFOs and aliens and biological entities," and he turns and says, "He looked with this concern look. He says, I've been read into it. So at this present time, I'm not allowed to talk about it." So just that statement alone, he's admitted, saying, "Yes, I know all about it, but I can't talk about it." So that question, that answer in itself, is a confirmation that he knows about it, but he won't go into detail.
Well, it's not only the UFOs, it's the JFK, it's the Epstein, it's the Diddy stuff, it's the actual fraud that occurred in the 2020 election, it's the January 6th hoax, it's the George Floyd hoax, it's the BLM and the Antifa hoax, the Occupy Wall Street hoax. When the day after the election, I was sitting there. I was going, all right, let's see and I did it in Grok. I said, all right, Grok, create a picture of Trump in a victorious stance, and underneath, I want the words "destroyer of dynasties."
I agree.
And I put that up, and I think that was what probably got my original Facebook account canceled. But when you think about that, and Scott Adams, I tell you what, and again, it goes to track record, right? If you call something and then it happens, you got to give him credit. 2015, Scott Adams said Trump would be the president. And everybody was like, "You're nuts." And he's going, "No, you don't understand persuasion, but you're going to learn." And he was right. And then after, it was like 2017, Adams said, "Trump will change reality as we know it." And those were his words. And he's documented, or I saw the shows. So if you think about it, the whole identity of Trump, the change that has happened as a result of him doing what he's done, has literally transformed the reality that we inhabit. I knew the news was bullshit, and I had my own sources long before he came along and started calling it fake news. But it was all the normies that didn't know it was fake news until he called it fake news. And then "what do you mean? How can you say? Give me some proof." And everybody started to have to go look and have a think for themselves. So Trump destroyed the media. And oddly enough, he was from essentially the media, obviously real estate. But interesting, another tie, when you look at what Trump has gone through this last 8 years and getting himself set up for the next 4 years, it's like the first 8 seasons of The Apprentice.
Right.
And only this time, this is like Apprentice Pro or something, right? This is like the next level. So there's that interesting correlation. But Trump single-handedly destroyed the media. It needed to be destroyed because it was nothing but a propaganda parroting mockingbird bullshit pusher of pills and bullshit. And that's why everybody is talking about the things that they shouldn't talk about, because that's what they were getting fed, was this nonsense. You had to call it out. It had to be exposed. You had to look at it from another perspective and go, huh, they're right. And a whole bunch of people did that. So that was one of the major things. But the other thing was, if you look at what just is why it's so awesome, you don't have to think about any of the woo and bring in the astrology, but I will, of course. If you just look at astronomy, which is what's required for astrology, you don't have astrology without astronomy because that's the stars, right? All the bodies. Astrology is the interpretation of the energies of the positions of those bodies at any given time. Astrology is an interpretation of those energies of that astronomical position, right? It's that simple. 240 years ago, roughly, Pluto was going through a transit from the position that it is now. 240 years ago was 1776. In fact, we're going to celebrate our 250th anniversary as a country in 2026. What is this about Pluto? Taking every time it comes around, it has some big ass deal that happens in the political and cultural landscape. I find that fascinating. Astrology gives you all of the woo, but you don't have to use any of that. You can just say Pluto was here 240 years ago. That's when the founding of the country. What were any other common characteristics? Well, you had some interesting people back then. The Ben Franklins, the John Madisons, James Madison, Jefferson, Washington, all these guys were basically 20 to 30-year-old rebels and renegades who basically said, fuck the man, we're going to go over here to this other place. We're going to write our own shit. We're going to sit down and have a long arguments and debates about how to create a document for a place where we will feel free to live. And they did that for over several years and finally came up with the documents that created this country, which to this day is still the most amazing document for any country on the planet that we know of. So 240 years later, now we're here and we just escaped the precipice of doom by defeating the dumbasses, and not as a political party, as an ideology. The ideology that was of this identity nonsense, victimhood and victims because of the class and the identity and all of that shit, that was rejected. It was absolutely given its walking papers and said, no, 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 no. We can't do this anymore. It doesn't work. It doesn't feel good. It never felt good. But now that you guys have had your turn and driving the car and you beat up everything, run over shit, killed people, crashed into this and that, I want out. No. Take the keys away. Goodbye. So it's a sociological, cultural. Basically, there was a wave of mental parasites that were kind of just neutralized. And people started having, because of that, more common sense awareness. The rest of them, unfortunately, and God love them, some it's just not their time and they're just not going to get it. They are so absorbed with thinking about things that they think are real that aren't. And when you have a reality that you think is one way and it isn't, not for anyone else, it's going to be real hard for you. So that, I think, is what we're actually seeing. Pluto brought that energy around because you had all those badasses back in 1776. We've got the greatest collection of intellectuals that know how to get shit done than I've ever seen. Trump has become a magnet and he's brought all these high-powered intellectuals, independents into his orbit. And they're all creating even more energy. So I think that is way profound. I didn't see that coming that fast, that hard, but oh my God, am I glad it did. What do you think, G?
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about that before Christmas about Pluto and the renegades, or actually they would have been found treason if they would not have succeeded. They would have been probably hung and killed. And just like the group we have today with Trump, I mean, at any other time, these people would be outcasts and renegades and be outcasted, and but yet Trump has taken them in and as advisors, and now they're top echelon. And we already knew they were smart and all the intellectuals and technology and all that. And he's just assembled such a great team with diversity in all fields and all cultures. That's what's great about it.
It's the most eclectic blend of individuals. I mean, you want to talk about diversity and inclusion. I mean, it's that's one of the things to me. It's just fascinating. Everything that these idiots tried to pull and shove down our throats and up our asses for decades was clearly stupid at the time. But people were kind of timid about. Well, okay, I know you're making a lot of noise about this, and you're throwing a lot of velocity at it. But I know, okay, I'll let you kind of go. And then as they go by, you go, what a fucking ass. And that is stupid. Who the fuck is that person? And then you get a whole gaggle of them, and they're making a whole bunch of noise, and they're all over the airwaves, and getting in their little groups and doing their riots and their protests and all their bullshit, and then burning shit down. And you go, well, what's wrong with these people? Why is it everybody who thinks like that acts like an idiot? They're all a bunch of fucking assholes when they get into these ideologies. And so I guess another analogy is the election was a wiping of the assholes. There you go. I said it.
Real quick, Camellia, good to see you. And also Ray Carr, welcome in. Just so you guys know, we're live on the Nexus channel. We're also live over on Bauer Media channel on YouTube as well. So there's a dozen people over on the Bauer Media channel, and there's a few people hanging out on the Nexus channel as well. So
I also
Nice.
shared it to my Facebook channel as well, and to my group, Beehive.
Yeah, well, Facebook is
anyway,
Facebook's
Robert,
not something I've got.
I'm not really up on what Pluto's all about. Only that I know his best mate Mickey Mouse was a good dude.
now I have quite the past with Facebook myself, Robert, and I think this was the longest I've been not suspended from Facebook in about, I don't know,
Well, you
since
can't
the
get
beginning.
suspended if you
club.
don't post.
I went 36 months being
Sent to
suspended
jail
from
with
Facebook.
it.
30-day bans. I went
I've been
full
getting
years.
notifications from reels and stuff I posted in 2017, 2021. All of a sudden they're popping up like, you may have to share or, get, if you monetize. Well, first of all, I'm not monetized. Second of all, I don't really care. I just delete the videos because they're so old anyway. Who's going to find them?
Well, anyway, back to this. So, yes, I think that there's this massive change, this incredible energy that the optics, all you got to do is look at the landscape and see what energies are afoot and who they are and how they're interacting. If you're not in crypto, highly recommend you seriously look at it sooner than later. At a minimum, get yourself set up so that you can have access to it if and when you're ready, because there's going to be a whole lot of movement in that. But so let's go back to the list. Number one for me was basically the great bitch slap. I think that everything that led up to that and all the things around it were a part of that fuel, but I think the bitch slap was going to be there by itself. It felt like it had its own identity. It felt like it kind of stepped up by itself and said, I'm going to come in here and get into this, and I'm going to help this along, and then smacked it because it was so profound. So that was my number one thing.
I didn't expect that, I expected, a lot more blue on the map than what it ended up when that map came out. I was like, oh wow, okay, there's more of us than I thought.
I don't think that people realized the imbalance of the perception of quantity, and it was on both sides. The folks on the left thought that there was a lot more of them than there were, and the folks on the right didn't realize there was as much of them as there are.
Well, I think the surrounding counties that finally came out and showed their voice, the common people, like my state, Illinois. Sure, you can look at Chicago, you can look at Springfield, that's all Democratic, but everywhere else in the state went the other way and has always been that way. But we usually get outvoted, and we did get outvoted basically this time around. But those votes, I mean, look at Trump. They got the popular vote and electoral. They didn't see that coming at all.
Well, shout out to that guy that went to the Amish community and rallied all them Amish people at 250,000 votes. One kid, like a 24-year-old kid, went and did all of that.
Yeah, Scott Jennings or something, something like that. But yeah, and there was a lawsuit that Robert Barnes was championing with Amos Miller Foods. This guy, the PA government, agriculture, trying to sue him out of existence. And all of the Amish, this is the first time all these Amish showed up and said, wait a minute, I think we need to go add to this. And so, yeah, the Amish. But that's the other thing, too, your point you were making. There wasn't a single county. There wasn't a single county. So that's down at you know why they call them counties? Because that's what they were designed for, was to count. It's the model from Europe back in the 15 Middle Ages, Renaissance. Counties were so that you could count people in that place. But I'm telling you, that was so enigmatic that it was like, okay, that
They
really
call them
felt
local
good.
shires, by the way. They call them shires or councils here in Australia. They call them councils in Australia. Each town has a council.
Well, that's because you're under that monarchy queen stuff, which is a great transition. I'll go ahead and ask you, B. What do you think about us making Canada the 51st state? Would you guys like to get in on some of that action?
I heard Canada wants to make you guys a state.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
That's
that's
what
gonna
I
be-
heard.
I heard 51st through 54th state. They'll keep the provinces but break them up into states. So 51
did
through
you-
54.
Did you ever know? Have you ever heard that many years ago, before Australia became Australia as such, New Zealand was actually a province of Australia. Used to be a state, believe it or not, part of the Australian territories. Then they got their independence from Australia. Yeah. That's how
Well-
the flags are very similar.
Well, some say New Zealand is Australia. Just saying.
Well, all the Kiwis
Yeah.
here for that one. But I
Let's
can
see
honestly say
here.
New Zealand's a far more beautiful country. Really is. Panoramic, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Anyway. besides
Well,
that-
what about Greenland? Do you think we should take over Greenland?
I think they have plenty of resources that would be beneficial to us. I
That's
don't
what
know if
Elon
they'll
Musk
ever
wants to do, isn't it?
negotiate the
Because
deal or not.
isn't that an Elon Musk plan because
We
of
don't
the
know what-
rare minerals?
The strategic importance of it would be, other than just a big land grab, a show of dominance, maybe.
Oh, and what have the Greenlanders got to say about that?
Well, not only that, if Canada would become part of us or some kind of alliance better than what we have now, where we have open borders, we also have control of the seas and oceans. If we had Greenland, we have all those canals and all those waterways that we control, so that would spread out our area of control
Yeah, quite a bit. I don't know,
Well,
Maybe that's what people do when they have, when people, when you have all the money in the world, all they got left is power and control. So that's what they do. That's what the elite do. Take over other countries and start wars for entertainment.
Well, that gets back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the show, doesn't it? You know, I mean, everybody's at it. Everybody's in control. Surrogate people. You know, they're not real people. They're people hiding behind their desk letting other people do the dirty work.
well, it sounds like a bunch of belly aching. I mean,
Yeah,
come
it
on.
does.
What do you think the worst thing of the year was?
Worst thing of the year? Well,
I
after
got
drinking
this
prune
one.
juice, don't fart. That's all I can say.
Now, now, there's been some wars and stuff and some pretty horrible things going on.
Yes.
But for me, breakdancing in the Olympics.
I agree. That's shameful. that was
That that
pathetic.
was like the bottom line for me.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, I mean, other than all the political stuff that we've obviously talked about, and going on, and uh, uh, January 6th protesters, that still bothers me. And also the way FEMA treated our own U.S. citizens during the natural disaster.
North Carolina. Yeah,
Yep.
that was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
that was
got
definitely.
they got all the equipment and the money to send to the Ukraine. Couldn't look after their own. It's disgusting.
Well, do you guys think that was the result of it was on purpose?
Who knows?
Was
Well,
was
Well,
this
if you listen to the people online where they talk about the lithium batteries and all that in that area and trying to take it over, that's why they didn't want to help them or wipe some of those cities off the map because they were trying to buy that land anyway. I don't know, could have been on purpose, but there was also they said irregularities in the radars where it's almost like that storm was driven to that area. So I don't know how do you prove it without being part of the know?
I think it was funny as hell when they were talking about, well, because the whole directed energy as well as weather modification and control was, buzzing around all the woo folks at least. And so when they were I think it was in a press conference and they were asked, well, what about this, the weather modification? They said, well, of course that we're not doing that. That's not, no, we don't do that. But you are trying to control the climate, right? Because of
Yeah.
climate change. The look was like, yeah, those don't, yes, they, oh shit. But that was funny, Clay, because one of the lists that the chat came up with had climate crisis or some
Hmm.
bullshit on it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen. There's at least a half a dozen or more recent peer-reviewed papers that have come out and just totally trashed the whole climate models, and there's no going back because there is no answer to what they're finding. And the biggest thing is that, and this is the key thing with all the sciences, even all of these models are nothing more than the results of somebody's assumptions. And if your assumptions are shit, you're going to get shit on your solution, right? It's just
Right.
fundamental. There's no way that with all of the variables, the biggest one that came out this year on the climate change was the fact that they underestimated the impact on the temperature of the planet as influenced by the ocean. They found that there was a 30 or 40% increase in the exchange of energy, of heat and cold, in the oceans than they anticipated. But the models still came up with the same answer.
It's
It's
strange,
like, so
isn't
wait a
it?
minute. So
No,
you're telling me that one of the major variables that had a huge change in what you were using before, And so did you go correct the original model and add that new information? Oh, yes, we did. But everything came out the same. Oh, which one of the 190 different models, of which they really focus on 30 of the 190, are you using? The whole thing is complete bullshit. There's no fucking way anything, with all the variables, known and unknown, let alone the accuracy of any of the variables, that any of these things can be anywhere close to being accurate. It's impossible.
Well, when
I
you
was
mean
We
reading an
don't
article.
know.
I was reading an article not so long ago, Robert. It was regarding the weather observatories on the planet and satellite observatories measuring the
Yeah,
global temperature. And it says in
yeah.
1970, global ground temperature was 2 degrees hotter than what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
So today, ground observatories are 2 degrees cooler. Now, with the satellites, NASA satellites, they're saying, oh, it's warmer. But the problem is with this is that when they do an overall computer analyze a lot of these, what they call buoys that's in the ocean, which the satellite takes the readings from, they can't get a correct reading from them. So they call it a mud reading. So with a mud reading, they take what they call an overall estimated kind of, let's do an average reading on it. So they come up with this magic number saying it's 2 degrees warmer. Now, but isn't it strange? In 1970, when the temperature was 2 degrees warmer, that was the year they had an agreement to stop nuclear detonation within the atmosphere. Now, people got to stop to realize that, oh, since 1940 odd, when they detonated the first nuclear bomb, there was over 2,200 thermal nuclear bombs detonated within our atmosphere. That's also up in the stratosphere as well. But that's exactly when they start saying, oh, CRC gases destroyed the ozone layer. But they're not going to take the responsibility. But in 1970, they had this accord where they made agreements with the Russians and everybody else. We're not going to do atmospheric testing anymore. But it's strange how all this comes together. So they stopped doing all these nuclear testing, like in the Pacific and the French Polynesian Islands and in Central Australia, where they actually done testing, and also in Nevada as well. They stopped all this shit because it was contributing to global warming, and they stopped it. And of course, since then, the temperature's dropped 2 degrees, but nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah, my
Well,
mom won a $30,000 settlement because her father was a downwinder from the
a
Nevada
downwind.
test site.
Ah,
So there were, thousands of people that
And this
got
information is
cancer.
available. You can go and read it. You can pick up the documentation. They actually talk about the ground observatories with their readings compared to the satellite reading. There's more accurate on ground, So
well, you're just confirming my point. What I was saying. None of this stuff, none of these studies, anytime you hear there's a meta study, yeah, that you just keep going. Don't even bother, because a meta study is a study in a bunch of studies. It's like, all right, first of all, what were your first studies? Who the fuck did them? Don't tell me it was peer reviewed. Was it replicatable? And that's the big problem right now in all sciences, is the replicability problem. Over, what was it, in 2020, 2021? 50% of the papers in the official journals of science and academia and intelligentsia and all of that were peer reviewed had to be pulled because they couldn't be replicated, even though they were peer reviewed. Are any of this, the standard model has been so corrupted, and it is just bullshit, because it's just like Nobel Prizes, nothing more than a handful of people to decide what the fuck they want. It has nothing to do with anything that is really that relevant. My point in making these examples is that the way that we look at value and we give import to someone, and it gets the respect from that, and it gets the honor and the accolations and the deference to. All of that's going to change because the value that those things are earned. They by it's it's either self-evident or it's by work or it's by some event itself, but it's self-evident. Value is self-evident. What is this? What is your? How do you perceive value when you use that term to in the transaction of something that you're doing? Doesn't matter what it is. Everything's a transaction. Hell, getting up and going to the bathroom is a transaction. Think about that, because it's not finished until the paperwork's done. I don't know where that came from, but there you go. I wish that drum clap thing would work. But my point is that the whole idea of value and the way we perceive it and that we interact with it and the transactional nature that we have of value is going to be where all the magic's going to change. It's going to that perspective will become open. It won't be it won't have all the bullshit. It'll have some bullshit because it's some's necessary, but the transparency of stuff will become so important and so default that from the transparency, the real value can be ascertained. And then you can engage with it and decide how you, what kind of energy you want to put into that value exchange. Completely different subject, but I think that it's probably, we're going to end up seeing something next year by spring that will be geopolitical in nature. And it will transform the way that at least two areas of the world will change almost overnight. So this is one of my predictions. I think that the mullahs over there in Iran, some way, shape, or form, are just not going to be a part of what's going on. And there will be a Western-oriented, a more culturally and populist kind of person to take over. And this could, in a strange way, be tied to the Antichrist.
I'm going for a pit stop. I'll be back in a moment.
Well,
Oh, we won't miss you. Go ahead.
I've heard channels out there on the tubes themselves talking about end of days, and this is all, leading up to the end. This is all leading up to the end of all things. So, I mean, it's definitely out there. I mean, for years, even in the movies, I mean, you always see them guys holding the sign, "The end is nigh," and
Yeah, and it never happens, right?
I mean, so.
Well,
It's
I don't
out there.
necessarily think that that this event. Well, I think that the leadership is going to change because the religions are going to get serious. They're going to get their own cosmic bitch slap, and a lot of that's going to have to do with the widely accepted acknowledgement of other species from another planet here when it just becomes default. So all those religions are going to have a real hard time justifying their existence, and there's going to be a lot of pissed off people that followed the religions only to find out that you mean these fuckers made this shit up? There's going to be a lot of that going down.
Yeah.
But before that, I think the mullahs, these guys have overstayed their welcome, caused way too much pain and suffering and chaos. And whoever ends up in there it's in the right kind of circumstances from the prophecies that I studied when I was doing my Christian ministry. And prophecy was my bag, man. I did 2-3 Bible studies a week just on Ezekiel, Daniel, and Revelation, and all of them. So there is some correlation there, something to keep an eye on. But I think more likely what will happen is this individual will be a populist. The people will, it'll come from the people because of what just happened here, which is still reverberating around the planet. Whoever this person gets propped up and put in will end up completely changing Middle East relations, and will probably start with a peace agreement and a working agreement with Israel. The Saudis are going to jump in on that. People are going to go, all right, all of these Arab gypsies that keep running around and getting kicked out of wherever they go because they're gypsies. They don't adhere to any particular cultural form or norm, and that's basically what these people that are called Palestinians are. There's no such thing as a Palestinian. There's no such thing as a Palestine. It was made up in a document.
Okay, here's a thought.
So none of these people. There's no ethnicity of a Palestinian. They're a bunch of Arab gypsies. Go ahead, Clay.
Camellia said, civilizations have perished many times and it'll happen again. Now, what if them UFOs are real aliens? And what if that's where the Mayans went? Maybe they're here to pick us up before the...
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because, we've got the Atlantic Space Arc sitting out there. You know about that, right? Does take silence as a no? Do you guys know about Michael Sala's Atlantic Space Arc?
No.
I don't think so.
I think it's
I
bullshit personally. I mean that's each to their own. That's
Okay.
just my personal view. I think it's just all BS.
Okay. So Michael Sala had essentially a whistleblower, a guy who was on the team, who started giving him all this information and explained it to him. Sala then went and tasked the guys over at Future Forecasting Group, Dick and Daz and Edward and Naeem, to remote view the site. Well, they went and remote viewed the site and nailed it with all of the data that Michael had from his whistleblower. Now, the premise is that apparently this has been down there. There's like 8 or 9 of them. And I think there's some 3 or 4 miles long. And they're like huge chambers and have kind of catacombs in them and work off of some energy. And there's a joint mission between Russia and the UK and the US who has a military operation working this arc. They're calling it an arc because it's so fucking big and looks like it's been designed for entities or, to travel. And apparently this thing has started to power up. And that's exactly what the remote viewers got. It was double blind. They only had the target ID. And then they did a debrief with Michael Sala. I was like, okay, apparently you got this. I don't see Jim. Jim keeps he's having all kinds of issues. I don't see him in the background. Do you guys see Jim anywhere?
No.
Am I missing something? Okay.
I do not. Well,
So
where
let's go
are
back
you
to the
today?
aliens then, I guess, since we're going to wander and weave around that. If the drones are clearly ours with some kind of weird deployment method and that we all kind of go, well, what is that? And then you're going to tell us that you know what it is, but you can't tell us because it's not a threat. Wait, what? I'm sorry. And this has actually been, there's some documentation. The drone swarm started a couple of years ago. So when we started seeing these kinds of activities, according to the data. So let's say that they're actually ours and they're up there trying to see what the hell our cosmic cousins are doing. or giving them a target to go talk to or talk with, because it's certainly not impressive. The orbs is the plasma ball is the only thing that is impressive. But why is it every one of them looks like a camera out of focus? You notice that?
Why can't we get a picture of these things in the daytime? Are they not around in the daytime?
What? Excuse me, right? What's going on here?
I mean, we have cameras that we can look at shit on the moon, but we can't get a clear picture of a goddamn drone flying, hanging out over New Jersey. What?
And why didn't anybody drop some night vision on these?
What's these things?
Where's the
look
third
like?
gen, which is now color, or 4 gen? 4 gen night vision is now color.
Well, I had this discussion with Jim Goodall some time ago. No, you got a satellite.
Jim who?
Jim Goodall.
Jim who?
Mr. Goodall.
Jim Goodall. Oh,
Yes.
oh, the one that's
Right.
not here?
Yeah, the one that's not here. I had a
The
conversation
one who can't
with
get
him
his
some-
shit working?
That's exactly right. Yeah. Anyway, we actually talked about spy satellites from the 60s where they boasted that we can read what's on a page of a newspaper of somebody reading on a beach. That's how good these cameras were,
Oh, yeah.
right? That was back in the 60s.
Well, you know about Project Clementine, right?
Well, you've heard of that, yes.
I
So
gotta step
Clementine
away
was
just for a minute.
yeah. Clementine was a satellite mission that was secret, and they were going to they used it to test out. I believe this is a story. They had this new Westinghouse camera technology, and they they wanted to test it on the Earth, and they ended up flipping it around and pointing it at the moon. And the resolution, they caught what has been called and known as the Crystal City. And all of that, it was like 40 film containers or something of that mission that finally got somebody snuck out and put it together. It's like, okay, what do you think of this? Like, oh, oh, oh.
And isn't this
You remember
what actually supposed to have had the, Apollo 19 and Apollo 20 mission? Was
No,
all
it's
about
Apollo
too?
18.
18,
Apollo
was it?
18. Yeah. In fact, I just watched that on, I think it was on Amazon. And the premise is, they shot it, but the premise is that back in 2004, somebody loaded 40 plus hours of videotape from that mission up to a site called Lunar Truth, which no longer exists. And the whole thing was based on, basically, they went on, the whole mission was DOD. They landed in a specific place. They got out on the rover. They were supposed to deploy some new package, some tech, and they thought they saw something move. They went down into a crater, over a crater's edge, and they found a Russian lunar module. And that one of the cosmonauts they found down in a crater, and his helmet was broken. He was just, decomposed. But there were these little critters that looked like rocks, and they'd look like a rock, and then all of a sudden they'd spring into this thing that looked kind of like a crab. And it infected him and ate him and shit and drove him crazy and all that. And that's why they showed at the end of the film in the credits that the command module, I remember the guys' names, the command and the two lunar guys, they left. And all of the official records were that they died in some accident and the bodies were never recovered. So that was supposed to be, Apollo 18 was 72, 73? Because we launched we were a launching machine with that Apollo stuff from 8 all the way to 15.
Yeah, well, it's going to start
That's-
all over again now, mate, with the way China and everybody else is coming on board. China, India, and yeah, the race is on. It's on. They're all at the gates now.
Well, Elderberry has showed up,
G'day.
was zapping in Geezers and Geeks. What's your opinion of on 2024. Yeah, that's what we've been yakking about here, Elderberry. We've gone through a list of best of, or a little bit of best of. We just kind of started tickling the what worst of,
We
because
haven't
there's
done
a
any
whole lot of
polls
fun
yet.
in there. We haven't done any polls. We should do a poll.
Well, as
And
much as I'm cynical, I can be optimistic too, you know. So,
I mean, how can somebody as grumpy as you ever be optimistic?
well, you know, it's strange you say that. You know, my wife got me a hat that says "Grumpy Old Man." I'm a boy. Yeah, well, I can be a grumpy old fart, but then again, you know, can't we all have our little moments? But you know, I mean, when you have to put up with friggin' idiots all the time, and it does tax your nerves, you know. It does. I mean, look how often I put up with you, Robert. I mean, as much as I love you,
Hey,
mate.
I mean, I I only invite the chaos and then enjoy it when it shows up. That's all.
Okay, that's good. You've got to have. Hey, I mean, there's enough insanity in the world that's. I mean, it's going to rub off on you, isn't it? I mean, let's face it.
Well, it only if you rub on it. You got to
Yeah.
remember that the stuff that rubs on you is if you let it rub on you, and or
Mm,
otherwise you just rub it off. That's the thing, is that the common sense system, or at least the awareness, is going to make it a hell of a lot easier for people to navigate the nonsense.
but what
And
I like,
fortunately, the
yeah,
nonsense is being pushed aside because it's been rejected by the majority of people who decided to have a moment and have a think for themselves.
so what's
Now
the,
that they've had a think, they're
yeah,
looking at it and they're going, okay, well, that sucked. Is there anything better? And oddly enough, there's a shitload that's better, that at least gives some level of optimism and reason for, wanting to continue and be engaged. Because a lot of people just, said, screw it, I'm checking out. I don't want to deal with this shit anymore.
and that
This
leads to the
world's
next
lost its
question.
mind.
And that leads to the next question, Robert.
Hmm.
What's the positive things that's going to happen in 2025?
Oh, well, I got some ideas.
Yeah, share.
I think, first of all, the awareness of the concept of Doge and this efficiency model, and particularly applying it to government, is not going to stop there at all. The whole idea of first principles thinking and systems and processes thinking, which is where you get your strategies and tactics, which is what you do when you want to plan, all of that's going to become vogue. People are going to start going, wait a minute, what's this? What do these smart people do that are fixing all this shit? How do they do that? Well, they look at it as first principles thinking. They get all the bullshit off. It's what I call the nut of the nugget. And they get down there and they figure out what's wrong with it, and then they reimagine it and do it better. You have to have people with cojones and head in order to do something like that.
Now, can you speak
But,
English?
well, yeah.
Come on.
Did it get lost in translation?
Yes, I did. Just a little bit. All I hear was the
So,
nuggets and everything else.
well, my point
Never
is
go
that
easy.
looking at how things work and how they should work
Yes.
is going to become in vogue. That's my point.
Right.
People are going to not accept things for what they were and have been, because there's nothing that's working. There is nothing that isn't broke. It's all broke. It doesn't matter what you look at. It's all broke. And none of it can be fixed or repaired. It can only be replaced. Replacing it with things that have been thought through logically, with new ideas, new systems, innovation. I'm telling you what, if anybody can take a hold of the government largesse and the antiquated carbon units that have been planted there for far too long, it's somebody like Musk. I'd love to see him go in and pull a Twitter on the government. I'm all fucking for that. even if some things fall and become painful, they'll show up quick enough, and you go, okay, well, bring that back in now. No, I'm talking take the fucking cleaver, take the bulldozers, line them up outside the cities, fire them up side by side, and just go until it's all flat. Literally, that's how I would like to see it done, and it would work because you can only completely get rid of a system that people depend on if you've got something in to replace it with.
Okay, that's
Something
what you
that's going
like
to
to happen.
work.
But what do you think will happen, though?
Definitely need to trim the fat for sure.
I think there will be a lot of fat identified and hacked. I think that the prep for 2026, the hype for it, especially during the holidays next year for July 4th, everybody's going to go, whoa, we're 1 year away from 250. Oh, there's going to be world fairs all over the place. Oh, things, look at this economy. People are working. There's all this, what the hell's going on here? Everybody wants to do something. Everybody's engaged. People that used to sit on the couch and eat Cheetos are actually out mowing their lawn. The people are going to, I think there's going to be a feel of that kind of inspiration, motivation. People will get ambitious because they're feeling less hindered. They're feeling less weight on having to navigate their lives. They're not getting fed the amount of nonsense and bullshit on the regular diet that they were getting before because all those sources have now been minimized to nothing.
And how is
So it's like, okay, well, now I don't have to
2025
listen to that shit anymore.
And how is 2025 going to affect you? I mean, what are you going to do to make it different? You know, I mean, we're all going to.
Oh, I'm gonna go kick some ass in every aspect I can.
Good
I
on you.
I am. I've been firing up my music. I'm writing the books. I'm doing all these videos, working with all the tools. I've been fasting. I'm on a carnivore diet. I've got more fucking energy now than I've ever had. And now my problem right now is sleep gets in my way. I got so much shit. My whiteboard's full, and I'm sitting there going, all right, and I feel like I'm motivated to take advantage of that because it feels so good. I mean, if I feel a complete shift in the cosmos, and it's only getting started.
Yeah, well, I've been feeling a complete shit all year, actually. Personally speaking, I mean, my 2025 is going to be. I'm going to focus on myself because this year's just been crap for my health with type 2 diabetes, arthritis, trying to live with it, deal with it. So my new year, I've got myself a new helmet. I'm going to be out there doing my mountain bike, going to get into my music more so. I've got all my toys to play with, and I'm going to be, hey, like yourself, I'm going to be out there giving them shit and speaking my mind. And hey, speaking the truth, what my truths. I mean, that's all we can do. We all have an opinion, and everybody's opinion is valuable. Even if I think it sounds like a load of shit, but hey, it's still I respect what people have to think, regardless if I agree or not. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and that's what being free is all about: to think, feel,
Well,
and do what you want to do.
isn't that what the act of calling something out is expressing your opinion?
Exactly right. Exactly.
I
Right.
mean, when you call out bullshit, it's like, hey, I'm
Hey,
sorry, that's bullshit, and you
see,
need to be able to say that and not somebody sit there and get all offended or
yeah, it's
worked up, and that's what's
exactly
going
right.
away.
It's like between you, I, and Jim Goodall. Now we take the shit out of each other, but we don't get offended where we hate each other. We have a lot of respect for it, but we can speak our mind. Hey, I'm not going to get offended because you've got a different opinion of me. I'm not just because you might vote for a different person than I do doesn't mean I should destroy a relationship, a friendship over it. You know what I mean? I mean, I
No,
mean, how
well,
narrow,
the
how
thing
narrow
is,
is a person's mind?
well, the thing is that when one of us are right or wrong, we're gonna say the opposite just because we have to.
Yeah.
It's like you're wrong. No, fuck you. I know you're
Yeah.
right. Okay,
Uh,
well, fuck you too.
yeah. Let's agree to disagree. Let's get on with it. Yeah. But a friendship's friendship, regardless. It's in stone. It's embedded. You know.
Well, and it's even more fundamental than that, Terry. And this is the other
Mm,
point that I'm trying to make too. Um, it's having Karen, just thank you, Karen. Right on time. So respect is the point. To be able to have a respectful, open conversation, the art of conversation was been trashed, and people don't know how to engage. Some of the podcasts. I don't know if you ever see PBD, Patrick Bet David. He's got some characters on there, and these guys are hardcore, and they get at each other and do it great. Unusual Suspects is another one. But the interaction is awesome because they're passionate, and they'll call one of their buds out and say, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot." They go, well, okay, well, I don't think so.
Love it.
But that's what this new media and these podcast models, I think, are starting to bring back, is the art of the understanding and the awareness of what is having a conversation. All of this identity emotive bullshit took people and put them into the extreme of how they react instead of responding.
Yeah.
You can respond with some smart ass sarcasm, which, it's kind of my jam. But that's how it is meant and said, because it's a part of having a conversation. It's not a declarative statement. It's not a shut you down or or accept me or else thing.
It's about being
just
authentic.
fun.
It's about being
But
authentic.
people, yeah, exactly. Authenticity is that's what people see in these podcasters when they speak their mind and they've got their opinions they'll even the ones that are hard positions on stuff. When you see them flip, Charlemagne the God was one of the ones that went through several beautiful moments where he was totally on the left. And then he was shown that they lied to him, and he filmed him seeing that, and he went, "They lied to me?" And he just, that was it, right?
Yeah.
Lots of people in that ideology have gone through those kind of moments, and there are going to be a lot more of them, because when you realize that the shit you thought was true isn't, and it's something that you've put a lot of energy, sweat, and equity and your life into, and you find out it was bullshit.
Well,
That's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah,
That's
I
like
find
getting an enema that with a 10-gallon bag tied to it. I don't know where I came up with that, but roll with it. Go ahead, B.
Well, I think everybody enjoys a good shit fight conversation. I mean, I think people do, and trust you to think about shit, mate. I mean, with enemas and stuff, you're always throwing a turd out there.
Oh, I think this is British. If you guys know, tell me. But a great new term to describe something that's just kind of blasé, that fits well with this whole mediocrity model that's been in this ideology where everything's kind of like okay. And that's turdish. Turdish. And I heard a British guy say it. He was describing an album by the Ramones. He said, well, really, it's kind of like, it's turdish, and, there's not much there. And I heard that as a turdish. What the fuck is that? I like that word. I'm going to throw that in.
It doesn't. It's like saying something just smells
crap.
off about it.
Yeah.
It's a pile.
Yeah, I like that turdish.
Yeah, I was kind of sad that I didn't come up with that because it's so obvious. Like, oh man, that's a turd. Oh, it's turdish. So, yeah, so I think that there's going to be to answer your question, two things. There's going to be a continued energy shift. People are going to be exposed to seeing to information they didn't realize, which is going to be one part of the great reveal. The other is going to be this realization that shit needs to get fixed, and there's actually a way to do it, and that the process of thinking about how to fix things is going to become in vogue. It's going to permeate. People will start seeing how do you when you think of things and you need it to be better, and a lot of it's going to come from the technology side with blockchain and tokenization. The whole immutable model and transparency of being able to keep records and go back to that value exchange that I was talking about, being able to have a dependable, immutable record of that transaction, that model is going to permeate everything that we do. It's not just money. It's the way that we look at information and we keep track with it and then we interact with it and we share it and all those things. So that in and of itself will be a part of this. It'll be the key to this idea of, well, how the hell do we make things better? Oh, look at these guys. They use this. How did they figure out how to fix that? Well, they use this thing called first principles, systems and processes thinking. Engineers over the next decade or two are going to be the go-to. These guys are going to be making all the loot. If you know how to engineer something, because it's not just what I'm talking about with the tech, but the energy technologies, the 3D printing technologies, there's gonna be a huge rollout, and we're gonna see the first parts of it in 2025. They're gonna be going. We're gonna see that like we saw AI in 2024.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a total revolution in electronics. Definitely, I think that's going to be a boost.
Well, what's going to lead to this whole this systems thinking, first principles thinking model is going to start rolling out all kinds of really cool shit. Doge is one of them. It's going to be, what's going to be funny as hell is there a lot of these, just like Vivek did with that 1,500-page bill when they tried to run that through the spending bill. He ran it through AI, and it spit out all the bullshit. You're going to see AI being applied to every business model, services, products, merchandise, and it's going to find ways to streamline all of it and make it not only more efficient, but more secure. So AI is actually going to, I think, now that I think about it, it's going to be
AI
more
will scan the internet and get all the information it needs
well,
to give you the end result.
well, that's basically what it does now. But my point is that every AI is an agent. It's an expert system. It's not some sentient thing that's ever going to happen. That doesn't happen. That can't happen in our current model. But what they're finely tuned expert systems to go be as efficient at a certain task as possible, right? That's why you have all these different AI companies. You got all these tools. You got image tools, video tools, audio tools. You got everything, all kinds of shit, right? They're designed to go do that. Well, all of those are going to become commoditized, and they're going to be rolled into a personal AI agent that is open source, that you will have on your devices, that will be integrated with your data, that you will then have tokenization and control, or the sovereignty and the provenance of that data, and you will let it go out where you want or need to.
Well,
otherwise, you
right
control
now.
it.
You go and buy something online, Robert. You go and buy something online, and all of a sudden, you're getting bombarded in social media on the products that's very similar to what you just bought.
Oh, this is completely different. I'm talking about the. I'm talking about the way
it's at the moment.
Yeah, well, you don't. That will be eliminated because it won't be able to be in the system I'm talking about.
Yeah, right.
The system I'm talking about is how you interact with your own personal shit. You're not going on Facebook and buying shit. No. You go to Amazon, you go to your insurance company, you go to your wherever, you use your debit cards or your credit cards, all that. All of it's already tokenized anyway, and people don't realize it. It's just a fucked up system that's intermediated. So the disintermediation of all of that stuff is what this system change will bring. So that we'll see more of it towards the end of the year. But I think the cool thing is what we'll see towards the end of the year will be what they'll roll out for the World's Fair in 2026. I think if you've ever done any historical dives into the World Fairs, I mean, there's some fascinating shit. John Levy's got some really cool shit. He's like, well, I looked at all these pictures in 1893, and this is all a facade, and it looked like a fucking Roman amphitheater. I mean, it was just like this giant. Every World's Fair was this thing to the future.
And the
Should
classic
whoever
one was the Eiffel Tower.
Huge.
Was built for the welfare, and it's still there today.
So I think that the folks that are the powers that be now that are coming in and taking charge, I think they're going to take every opportunity to amp the shit out of this World Fair thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see replicas of it all around the world. Maybe one in Europe, maybe one in the Middle East when the mullahs are replaced by some populist Arab that gets everybody to go, let's go back to the West, because back in the 70s, you couldn't tell our streets from a street in America because they were totally westernized, and the people want that. So maybe this guy says, hey, you know what? Since we got free, anybody out here want to put together a World Fair and celebrate it Muslim style? Bring your habab, right? In Asia, there's going to be, I think, this is just my prognostication. So I think, yes, great energy change. We're going to see more of it. Shit's going to come out that is going to blow people's mind about a whole bunch of people and systems that's really bad. They're also going to see that the system that they use is all bad, and they're going to go, well, shit, how do we fix this? Oh, just pay attention to these guys over here. They're using all latest tech and first principles and systems and processes, and they know how to do methodologies and, real scientific double-blind conditions. And, all of these things will become more in vogue because people will see them happening. And that alone will help change a lot of minds and thinking about adopting the change, or at least not resisting it as it goes along, because it's going to get ugly. When the whole financial system, when that thing finally takes a shit, it ain't going to be pretty. It ain't going to be pretty. There's going to take a lot of stuff with it. And I think one of the reasons I think it's being held up until the replacement system, which you hear little inklings of, this quantum financial bullshit and Nasara bullshit is bullshit. None of that stuff's happening. What's happening is what Trump's going to do with cryptos and blockchain, and Musk and Vivek and those guys. So that will change the monetary model. And I think they're holding on to the collapse. They're stretching the dollar out until they have the new system in place. And we may see the inklings of that by the end of next year as well. But at a minimum, July 4th next year is going to be lit.
Iowa.
What about you, Gerald? I mean,
I think at the end of 2025, maybe starting with the World's Fair or whatever we're going to call this, the Independence Celebration or whatever, I think by early 2026, I think a lot of minds are going to be blown because we're going to have zero energy, and the theory, a lot of the theories for physics and relativity and all that's going to go out the window because we're going to have new laws and new things that doesn't make sense in the models we have now.
Yeah, I just seen an interview Clayton Morris had about 0 point energy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've probably already got all this information already, Gerald, but they're just not releasing it to the public. Unfortunately, it's still kept classified.
Well, that's the other thing. 0 point technologies are what we're going to start seeing a shitload of next year, and that's another catalyst to the change.
Well, they say that's been around since 1954.
Mm-hmm.
Well, various versions of it, yes. Having off the bench, production ready, palm of your hand, energy, water, and communication, that's what's coming. And most of it is it's all ether based, but some of it is actually just a totally different way of looking. Do you know you can take a geometric pattern, and you can buy these. You can put it in a ball of plastic, a round ball, and you can geometrically place the holes in it, and it will naturally collect water all day long. It's just geometry. It's the geometry of the way the air moves and interacts with the geometry of the holes and the body, and it causes the transfer and
Yeah, they got actually they got
essentially
things like that in
H2O to come
Africa.
out of it.
They look
Well,
like
yeah, you
tents.
can,
They look like tents. They're what they've got in Africa at the moment, and they collect water.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, they got that wicking
make.
material that's already taking the moisture and the water out of the air as it goes through it, the fabrics.
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of everything from looking at petroleum, which is incorrectly called fossil fuel. It's not fossil. It's abiotic. It's made by the earth. It's not from a bunch of dinosaurs and vegetation simmering and marinating for millions of years. That's complete bullshit. So the realization, first of all, that we've been lied to about that, and then been lied to about the adverse effects of CO2, and then lied to about, well, we got to control all this shit before it kills us, so we're going to force all y'all to do all the shit you don't want with no proof other than our own peccadillos, our
Yeah,
own
well, people just got to
perspective.
realise CO2. The trees love it, so it's good for the trees.
Well,
The trees crazy.
it's not that there isn't any effect. It's just that we have no fucking idea because we can't trust anything that's measured by man. Whether all of the everything that's measured that we use, even the constants and the uh, speed of light, gravity, that's all bullshit.
It's because we.
It's all assumptions that's based on a bunch of math models that they think they got right because they figured some assumptions that they put in it and they got an answer that they kind of like. It's
Yeah.
like you have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
That's because us as men grew up thinking this was 6 inches our whole life.
Yeah, and the Earth was flat.
They just had a big talking about flat Earth. They just had a big experiment. Will Duffy and all them guys went up
Oh
to
God.
Antarctica and did a live stream from there to prove the sun.
I'm going to refill. I'll be right back. Talk amongst
Yeah,
yourselves.
right. Yeah. So what do you got planned? What's your opinion for the new year there, Clay?
Well, I don't know. These whole UFOs or I can't say the UFOs, drones, kind of threw a wrench in it. I'm kind of excited about kind of where the future is going. I think there's a new energy. I think there's especially here in America. I think it feels like a new patriotism. Like America is starting to feel. I'm starting to feel the patriotism again. Like make America great again is like really coming true. I mean, at least in people's attitudes. I mean, it seems people's attitudes are a little bit better about it. As for 2025, man, I really
I
don't
mean,
know.
well,
It's
yeah.
hard to get past. It's hard to look too far into the future with the way that the world is right now. I mean, any day they could push a button and it could all be over for everybody. So, I mean, will we see the end of 2025? I hope so.
Actually, I don't think anybody at the end of the day will press the button. I look, even these psychopaths still want to go and lay on the beach somewhere in the tropics and enjoy their holidays. You know, what I mean, I don't think nobody wants to spend the rest of their life inside a frigging cave, 400 or 500 feet below ground.
Well, I'm hopeful.
Without natural sunlight, you know what I mean? I don't think that will happen, you know, I mean,
I'm hopeful for 2025. I'm thinking, I don't know if Trump's going to do everything that he said he was going to do. It's hard to believe any of them politicians because even Trump himself, he's still working for somebody, So
Well, hold on. I'm going to push back. Let's double click on that for a second. Who do you think Trump works for? Who's his boss?
Charles Schwab
Congress.
and his
Actually,
buddies.
actually, at the end of the day, it's Congress.
Okay.
It's
Charles
Congress.
Schwab and his buddies.
It's Congress. It's Congress that actually. You can't do anything without Congress.
Well, no, that's not true. He can do a shitload.
Yeah, if
And
shit
he's gonna
happens,
do a
he has to
shitload.
make a presidential.
He made a statement. I don't have the exact words, but he said something to the effect, by 2 o'clock, there'll be more shit done than has been done in the last 2 months.
Well,
On inauguration day, he's going to be sworn in. He's going to go do a bunch of shit, and by 2 o'clock, it's going to be a bunch of shit done. I understand your point, Clay, about not sure he's going to be able to do or get everything done. I think it's going to be really the opposite. I think people are going to be blown away at how fast a bunch of shit gets done, and it's going to be a part of the great reveal. He's going to go in there and knock some shit out.
He will get
People
shit
are going
done,
to look
but
at it and they're going to
not
go,
everything,
they're
though.
going to look at it. Well, they're going to look at it and go, you're going to do what? It's going to, what are it's going to replace what? And what are the effects? Really? You think that'll work? All right, go have a whack at it. They knock down 2 or 3 or 4 things like that, and their track record is going to establish a credibility that people are going to go, oh, here he comes again. He's got a whole new axe he's swinging, and this one's going out now. Stand back, watch out. It's going to get ugly, but this guy's got a track record. Every time he does something, it turns out to be pretty good.
well, and
So there's going to be a build of that, I think.
there are going to be some downfalls that people are going to see, and people are going to bring up them points. If all of these tariffs come in, okay, we're going to be paying a little bit more for avocados. We're going to be paying a little bit more for auto parts, but you know what? I think that's going to spur the made in America again. You know, we
Yep.
we didn't used to have to get our auto parts from Mexico. We used to get them right here. You know, we never used to get our textiles from China. We used to get them all right here. All of that stuff. So the things that are going to get tariffed in the countries that we do get that stuff for, we are going to see a price hike and probably have to pay a little bit more for them items. But at the same time, I think it's for the better.
Now there is a situation there, Clay, which I totally agree what you're saying, but it comes to the point where I think Donald Trump knows what works. He's been down this road before. He put a lot of people in work. Yeah, I mean unemployment became less. There was a lot more work available. He put tariffs on, yes, and things will be a little bit more expensive, but once these companies have been brought back to America and new factories start opening up and everybody starts buying American products, not Chinese products, you'll find the consumer, the amount of products that are being consumed by the American publics will drive the prices down. It's all to do with volume, right?
There's
So
going to be a lot.
Well,
of
it's
deals
actually,
made.
The more you produce, the cheaper it's going to be. The more it sells. And it's only be a win-win-win situation for the American economy and for the American people. Yes, there's going to be a transition where it's going to be expensive, but that will all pan out, especially when it comes to the oil from Alaska, right? He'll finish that line, and then then you'll see the prices should drop tremendously, especially with the shipping and carting all these products around. Don't have to depend on other people's fuel, and that in itself is going to be excellent for the American economy. Anyway.
well, yes. The getting rid of the crap and the clutter and the corruption is going to, by itself, create a rebalance in the value system. It's just like somebody, they were going on about, what was the latest one about the post office? Trump was giving them some shit that they deserve. And I was listening to some of these lefties going about, how does he think Amazon and UPS get their packages? They get it from the post office. And I'm going, what fucking planet are you living on? The post office doesn't show up to Amazon's facilities and load up.
Well, they do.
They do for certain,
just for certain shipping.
those are
yeah, just
those
for
are all
certain shipping.
Amazon planes.
Private
Yeah,
couriers now. In Australia,
Right.
basically private couriers.
But it was just another. It was just a great example of another example of the ignorance that people have when they look at these kinds of issues. They're forming opinions and perspectives that sound fucking stupid because they don't have all the information. And then you ask them, you ask for clarification. Well, what about this piece of data? Well, that doesn't have anything to do with this. Like I was talking about the climate change shit. They found out that the oceans are doing, I think it was actually 60% impact on the climate temperature that they didn't account for because they didn't know. Then they did the study and they found that, oh shit, this is happening big time. And then they went in and supposedly added that new information to the models, and the models didn't change. How in the fuck could your model not change? You get a massive swing in the data you're observing to put into your assumptions to make your fucking prediction.
Yeah.
They can't do it. They don't know how to do it, and it's just a bunch of bullshit. Same thing in medicine. Same thing in pharmaceuticals. All of the health, everything that we're doing is, I swear to God, I think that we're going to see the academic institutions. Trump's going to go after the student loans, and he's going to make the institutions and the banks pay, because they're the ones that sold a shitty product to unsuspecting, ill-informed people that they purposely misled because they sold a product that was supposed to have an ROI that didn't. It's like, what has this got to do with the rest of America? Why should we pay for somebody else's fuck up? Who are the people that got all the money? Well, they got billions in endowments. Use that money, pay your shit back for your shitty product. It's called warranty. Right? You sold a shitty product. But we're going to see a lot of stuff like that. And we're going to see these zero-point technologies roll out. We're going to see how corrupt people are and systems have been. And there's going to be just empirical evidence and data all over the place that people are going to look at and go, really? JFK was killed by the CIA? 9/11 was a hoax? Obama was a fraud? The 2020 election and the virus were fake? January 6th was bullshit? What? And that's just going, all you need to do is do 9/11 to now, and people are going to go, wait a minute, everything we've been told, Afghanistan was bullshit? Iraq was bullshit? I mean, it's going to be one bullshit reveal after another.
That's right. And that destroyer that was sunk by the CIA that took America into the Vietnam War was bullshit. Yeah, the old situation.
And that's just the cultural and societal stuff. You start getting into the spiritual aspects and you go wander in the woo with all of the wonder that's going on in there where reality really exists. And there's a whole bunch of shake-up shit going down in there, too, because there's been a lot of people that have hijacked various aspects for their own agenda and nefarious needs and wants and greed. But that's going to get a good flush, too, because reality is a hell of a lot simpler than everybody's piled onto it. And the consciousness, realizing consciousness and energy and motion is how everything is. Tesla called it. He got the bolt from the blue. And that's why he was suppressed, because they couldn't let everybody know what that son of a bitch found out, because it would change reality.
Yeah.
So you can't do that. But interestingly enough, Tesla's papers were, the guy who was assigned to go get them was Donald Trump's uncle. Now, do you think that
I didn't
John
know that.
Trump, do you think John Trump might have snuck some stuff or packed some stuff away for his soon-to-be ruler of the world nephew?
They're all connected.
I mean, right? Do you think maybe?
Look at Elon Musk's parents. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're all connected some way or the other.
Do you reckon?
Oh, yeah, Karen.
Here's an interesting question. Do you reckon we can say goodbye to electric cars, Tesla cars? Do you can say goodbye to them within the future?
I think we'll still have both.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
they're actually doing really big, what they call experimental cars in Australia with Toyota, BMW, I think Volvo as well. They've actually got what they call. They're testing these new hydrogen cars with the new hydrogen cells in them, and they reckon they're running at nearly 1,000 kilometers a tank.
We've got a looks like a breaking news in here. Karen just shared. Level 4 travel alert issued by USA. What does this say again? Let me change this time on this. Ports and cruise operations shut down.
Then she has one more past that.
Yeah.
Of course, I expected that one because of
Yeah,
as soon as the new
kidnapping
border
concerns.
czar steps in, there's going to be a lot of pushback.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't, even before Trump came into office, I wouldn't take a trip to Mexico. Now, my friend, his father actually lives in Mexico, and he just traveled to Mexico and spent like a week there fucking partying and living it up in Mexico, you know, rural Mexico. So, I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, they say. Well, we get warnings to say to stay away from places like Puerto Rico and Venezuela.
yeah. Yeah, there's definitely hot spots that you don't want to be in, for sure.
Well,
I mean, I guess there's hot spots here in America you don't want to be in. You don't want to be walking down the street in Chicago in the middle of the fucking night.
Or the Bronx.
Or the Bronx, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there's places
yeah,
here,
you might get mugged by somebody with a Subway sandwich.
Might run into Mothman.
you seen them New York City subway videos? You know, people getting beat up, people smoking crack, people crapping, you know, all of that.
Here's something. It's an interesting thing I want to ask you guys about. Okay, if you're an alien being, and of course their culture would be totally different, their technology is different, probably their diets is different, even their what they call cultural things of art could be totally different. They may not have acting, they may not have singing as we know it, right? Or certain musical instruments. They're the toys and things we do. You know, that's part of our culture. But what happens? I mean, what would be the perspective if you're an alien being? You're picking up all these radio waves from light years away, and all of a sudden you're looking at it and you see this Star Trek. Da, 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 da. No, I'm not saying they don't know what acting is, right? They don't have to know what acting is. They don't.
Well, how do you know that?
I mean,
how do you know what they don't know? They might have their own. They might have their own thing, right?
But I'm just looking at a scenario. What happens if their culture's totally different and they do not have it, right? What happens if, and they see people beaming on board, people beaming to, you know, people beaming. You know, they're like beam me up, Scotty, and they're seeing all this stuff, and then they see this ship come along and it's shooting out laser beams, blowing up another spaceship. I mean, what kind of a message are we sending out there? that's what I mean. I mean, you got to realize. I mean, they think, oh, okay. You know, this is very. Let's tread with caution here, because even if they know that it's entertainment, they're still going to look at it and say, well, they seem to find violence as entertainment. I mean, barbaric when you really think about it.
Well, look humans up Galaxy Quest.
Reality Quest?
Galaxy Quest with
Tim Galaxy Allen. Quest, yeah.
That's based on the whole thing. He's basically a Captain Kirk. He had his own crew. And
yes, I remember that. I remember that, yes.
Then the aliens received the broadcast of these shows and developed their technology based on watching these shows, and they came and tried to get them to help them save their universe, and they said, man, we're actors. Well, this isn't real.
Exactly. I mean, but that could possibly happen. I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
I mean, if your mind can perceive it, I mean, it could manifest it. You know what I mean? Who knows? I don't know. But a very interesting concept. What the messages we are sending out there, especially old war films of the Second World War, showing death camps and nuclear bombs blowing up Hiroshima and Hiroshima.
Well, you remember Contact when they first.
My wife.
You remember in Contact when they first decoded the multi-layered signal,
Right.
and the TV transmission of Hitler inaugurating the '36 Olympics. So that's what they sent back to us, right? And you go,
Right.
all right. I think that somehow, if that's happening, they're probably sitting back and they've got like on whatever their content display devices are, they've got the Earth channel, and on the Earth channel, they they probably have they can maybe even look back in time. Maybe they got they can dial it in to different periods and see what's going on. But if they just do real time feed, here's your live cam on the Earth channel, and they're picking up Petticoat Junction, Hogan's Heroes, fucking
Well,
F Troop.
That's the technology that the chronovisor's based off of.
They'll be like saying, "What are they on?"
Right? Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, but
And
what
then-
happens, what happens if they
and then-
take this shit literally? What happens
Yeah,
if they
because
take this
yeah.
literally? That's the thing.
Well, it would be first of all they'd have to interpret it, right? They'd have to if it just seeing the visuals, they wouldn't know what's going on. And can you imagine one of them getting on a George Carlin special, an HBO George Carlin, dialing into that and trying to figure out what the fuck's going on there? I mean, that would require a certain level of understanding of the human species, which brings me to another point similar to your question, Terry. I think our cosmic cousins look more like us than we realize, and I think that's going to be one of the big fucking shocks. I think that people are going to there's a predilection in the cosmos, at least from the stories and the histories and everything else that we've seen and heard, anecdotal, empirical, and otherwise. There's a proclivity in the cosmos to manifest life in a humanoid form. Torso, arms, legs, head. Doesn't matter if it's a reptile, doesn't matter if it's a Palladian, doesn't matter, hell, if it's even an apparition in some paranormal thing. It may be kind of fluid and flowy and shit, but the ones that are really scary, the one that look like another human or a humanoid, right? Even zombies, right?
It's out there now to say even the greys are biological robots. I mean, programmable biological robots. I don't know.
Well, at least for this species that seems to have a level of consciousness that enables it to be more engaged with and manipulate the reality we inhabit through the energy that's manifesting it from consciousness, we seem to be a part of that where we can manipulate and interact with reality in more profound ways and deeper ways than all the other things that fall into the category that we would give it life, something that's self-animating and it's self-producing, right? So that's wherever we see things that would have some semblance or characteristic of consciousness, it is in something that is alive, or we would attribute to having life. Now, what's fascinating, going back to the cosmos, and we were talking about Pluto, right, and the astronomical cycles, right? So as we move through the galaxy, right? Seems to make sense based on the observations. It could be wildly wrong, like everything else I'm saying, but it seems to correlate with the telemetry that we are able to look at, and that is you have the galactic plane like this, okay, center of the galaxy, a bunch of stars and stuff above and below, but in the middle there's kind of a slot. That's what we are interpreting as the center of the galaxy that we see in the night sky. That's what they call it. Well, that slot is whatever the width is. It takes 13,000 years for us to go up, to cross it and go up above it, and 13,000 years to cross it and go back up. So we're in an oscillating movement across this galactic plane, and it takes 13,000 years basically. So we are right now in what they call the M9 point, which is where we're getting a totally different dose of the energy from the center of the galaxy. It's what they refer to as a galactic current sheet. And that energy is changing everything around. You start looking at some of our nearest stars like Betelgeuse, and you're seeing all kinds of different cosmic extremes from what has been observed before, that there's something going on in this area of space that we are traveling through. That energy itself seems to be drawing a lot of other entities or people or species of humanoids that have been created in the cosmos, because we're all a part of that same consciousness, that same energy. So there's a similarity in the manifestations of other light forms that seem to have these characteristics. So we are just another one of the entities out there. There isn't anything special necessarily about us other than we are unique like they are.
I find also with 8 billion or 7 to 8 billion people on this planet, there's 7 to 8 billion people with different realities. And we, yes, some of us are in tune with each other. It's like you can have 3 people sitting on a beach at sunset. Somebody be looking at, say, what a gorgeous sunset. The next person didn't even take notice of the sunset. His reality is the ocean's got this beautiful glitter about it, like reflection. Another person might turn around and say, wow, look at those waves. So our perception and how we perceive things, we see things differently. But I personally feel that we're moving into a conscious level where we're all going to start being more in tune with what we all see at the same time. Call it the matrix, where everything just changes around us, and we come, hey, awareness is now suddenly becoming upon us. And we're saying, hey, I see what you see. And then people start relating. It's like, as you would say, Robert, it's like you start exposing. People will start saying, that person just exposed themselves. I see what that person's all about. They are corrupted. Now everybody's now consciously aware at the same level of consciousness. Their reality now is within tune. And together as a consciousness, that's when they all stand up together and they say, enough is enough. We are now self-aware, and we've got the same perspective now. And now this is how I perceive, how this is where we're actually going in this, what you call this cosmic shift of awareness, and where our realities become common, and we walk together as one unit. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I agree. And I think, to your point, what I think we experience is a common shared band of reality that is a set of frequencies and the motion. So consciousness expresses itself through this thing that we call energy, but that's how this conscious thing happens, or it's not how it happens. It's what happens when it does its thing. Consciousness creates energy. That energy is always in motion. It's never static. It is constantly in motion and constantly creating more of itself. Essentially it's what how you describe plasma, the fourth state of matter, according to physicists. And they're getting that wrong too. And that's going to be exposed. But the idea is that energy is constantly in motion. It's constantly creating more of itself, and it seems to have a proclivity for novelty. It seems to be seeking something new all the time. How does it do that? Well, it does it through this thing we call energy. Well, what is energy? Well, energy is a shitload of infinite field of frequencies. And these frequencies are what manifests everything that we can even conceive. Even finally, quantum mechanics and physics have finally said, yep, everything's a wave. What's a wave? It's a frequency. What does a frequency do? It waves. It vibrates. And it's that simple. And so, as energy, as consciousness is always making more of itself, unfolding into novelty, into more and new, it's just creating more of itself.
Yeah.
Everything's expanding. There's always more of it.
Yeah.
We are the result of that energy in the infinite field of frequencies. We are a unique frequency stamp signature from that energy, the infinite fields of frequencies of energy, and that's who we are. Our stamp now exists in the rest of the flow of the infinite fields. That is how everything is. Planets, other entities. There's a natural expression. What it seems, and this is speculation, all of it, but it's just based on observation without anybody's theology, philosophy, science, or anything else. This is how it works. You can put whatever model and number and theory you want on it, but this is observational neutrality of reality. So there it is. It works that way. There is no hierarchy. There are the things that really seem to work are these laws of karma, or what are called laws, but these habits of karma, and yin and yang, this balance, this flow, because there's always what happens with frequencies are waving. They're always flowing. Well, they're on their own cycles. Well, then there are cycles within cycles. And everything is an interactive play of frequencies of the infinite field.
Yeah.
That is the way reality functions. How we describe it, and what names and models and stories and mythos we want to put around it is all up to whoever you want.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's up to you to either make up your own or adopt somebody else's, because that's all we have right now. That's why I was saying all this great reveal. Religions are going to have a big time problem. Science is going to have a huge problem. All of these established authorities, the whole idea of authority is going to be completely challenged, and to start with these people because they need it. But once the reality of how simple reality is, and it's also complex because the simplicity of it leans into complexity because it just continues to manifest. This is how remote viewing works. That's how memory works. That's how predictive, any kind of psychic prediction forecasting works. It's looking at the stream and either dialing into what was, finding that frequency, or giving a gaze into the direction and the directionality of the energy. Where does it look like it's going? It looks like it's going over there. Well, okay, let's say that's probably going to end up over there. Done. Prediction. And that's how we actually function. So my long rant here is I'm realizing I'm really going on, but is the point that the awakening of awareness and the sentience of self and the self-examination of yourself, and this is the most important thing, the reflection on why you think and feel the way you do is going to be the real model of the future. People are going to be able to stop and reflect, and it's like, well, why do I believe that? Why do I think that?
Yeah.
What are there any other options for me to think about?
Well,
Can I be open-minded and be able to have an exchange to explore it? Because exploration is what conversation is kind of really about, isn't it, gentlemen?
You know, I feel people will know what true compassion's about once you start relating, and with the realities and be more in tune. You know, I mean, like it's like I always say, you kick your toe, you say shit, it bloody hurt. Well, it doesn't bother me because it didn't happen to me. But if you're more in tune with a person, right, and you say, I understand where you're coming from. Ooh, that must have hurt. I mean, it's awareness. We know about it. It's like there's a war over in Europe. People are dying. People don't give a shit. Why? Because it's not happening to me. It's not in my backyard. So why should I worry about it? Well, when people are more in tune with reality, they're going to turn around and say, well, what's happening is wrong. and we've got to do something to stop it because it will get out of hand. And when people are in tune, we can actually then stop what's happening as a collective. I mean,
Well, I agree, but I think that people are already at an overload with bullshit. And I think that's
yeah,
one of the things that we're seeing is that's the
exactly.
rise of the pissed off peeps. People
That's
have
right.
had enough of the bullshit, and they finally just said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. You know? Gee, what do you think?
Um, I think the human race is going to be the human race, and we're always going to try to conquer and divide.
You don't think we'll get over our childish ways?
Not anytime soon.
No, it's a sad thing. That's sad.
Not since
It
the
is.
first caveman picked up a rock and smashed his neighbor and stole his fire.
Hey, does Riverside still have a time allotment, or did they fix that too?
I think it's still four. I think it's 4 hours, 3 hours or 4 hours. Where are we at?
I thought it was
Creeping up
four
on
hours, but
three.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
we're
don't even know
creeping
how
up
long
on
we've been
three here.
going.
Well, I might
Honestly,
have to go shortly because I promised my better half I'll take her out this afternoon.
Well, while we're talking here, real quick, let me. Now I don't have the links for these because I don't have a wrench over here, but I want to remind everybody about a couple of things. One, Carol can tell us about this.
yeah, Sunday, which is already for me, it's already Sunday, but at 6 p.m. Central, we're going to have Brown Dwarf come on. We're going to talk about the Olmecs and all the civilizations around that society. So we'll probably be talking about the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Incas and all the little groups that were in between all those even.
So this will be tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central, so 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah,
So
Sunday.
so make sure. Oh wait, what's today? My schedule has been screwed up since Christmas.
Like I said, for me, it's already Sunday, but when you wake up tomorrow, or whenever you get up, it'll be 6 p.m. Central for us.
God, what time would that be for me? Ah, I'll work it out.
Oh, Sunday,
I'll,
yeah, because
I'll,
it's
I'll say, wake me up.
and then
I'll click on the notification.
if you guys are not busy on New Year's Day, I am premiering Jonestown. It's a little 5-minute documentary
All right.
about Jim Jones, and it's pretty interesting, I
Who
must
doesn't
say.
want to drink a little Kool-Aid?
Yeah,
Yeah, especially on the day to drink Kool-Aid.
yeah. Drink, yeah. Have your New Year's Day Kool-Aid watching Jonestown documentary. But that's what I have coming up
Ah,
this week.
Good old number 7. My
Cool. Well,
wife gets very upset at me when I get into the Jack Daniels. She says, "Not good for your diabetes." Anyway, such is life.
well, since we're doing a little share there, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick share of. Where am I here? There it is. I've got some updates, some new products up on Mindware. The State of Mind collection has arrived. So there's 6 new ones. The first one is Go Fact Yourself. and that comes in mugs and shirts and the usual stuff.
I like
Second
it.
one is second one is Fact Around and Find Out.
I love it.
And so
Good
that
play on
series
words, Robert. Good play on words, my friend.
that series is up. Adventure awaits. And this, you can see the design has got a whole bunch of colors. And let's see, Mountains Are Calling is also a new one that's up. And then this is wandering in the wonder of the woo. So if you are so inclined to go wander in the woo, you can do that. And then the last one is the Zen zone. And that's where I go. I got to tell you, and I shouldn't, I got over trying to hide it after I think, yeah, it was after my girls became teenagers. I just, I have, whenever I need to go on my Zen, I go clean. I vacuum. I do dishes. I sweep shit. I do laundry.
I'm actually really amazed you didn't say, I'm a mountain man and I love mountain women.
Well, I might do that yet. So anyway, those are up, and all the usual, all the other stuff that's been up for a couple of months now. So that's an update on the website. So check it out. Use coupon code Get Some for that discount if you want some.
Get some.
And since we were talking about the AI and all that stuff earlier, we were talking about some of the tools. I thought I'd share with you a little something that I created and see what you guys think of this. I went through and I've been using Notebook LM, Riverside, Fun Blocks, Perplexity, and a couple of others. So this is, so I took the first chapter of my book, Informatica, that I haven't finished yet. Just took the first chapter. I fed it into Notebook, and I said, do a book review on this, okay? And, whoops, wrong one. Have a conversation about this book. And this is what it did. Give me a 5-by on the audio if you can hear it.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to this dive. Today we're
5x5.
diving into Robert Bauer's new book, Informatica, The Metrics in the Matrix.
Ooh, very interesting.
Have you ever had that inkling that there's more to reality than what we see? Like a blueprint hidden beneath the surface?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Bauer argues that reality isn't built on bricks and mortar, but on information.
That's a big claim.
It is. We're going to be looking at excerpts from the book's introduction today.
Sounds mind-bending.
Oh, it is. So buckle up.
I'm ready.
The thing that struck me right away is that Bauer isn't just saying information is important, right?
Right.
He's saying it's the foundation of everything.
Yeah, he's proposing Informatica as this new way to see the universe.
So instead of just using information to build computers or send messages, he's saying that the universe itself is made of information.
Exactly, like a cosmic DNA.
Whoa. Okay. So it's
Yeah.
we need to look beyond the physical stuff we see to the underlying code.
Yeah, kind of like Matrix,
Oh, like the movie.
Not literally the green code, but the idea that there's a structure shaping our reality.
Right. Okay. So Bauer calls this underlying structure the metrics.
Exactly.
So the metrics is like the blueprint of reality. But instead of lines and measurements, it's made of pure information.
It is. And it's the key to understanding everything, from the tiniest particle to the vastness of the cosmos.
That's a pretty wild concept.
It is.
So is this Informatica thing a scientific theory or more like a philosophical framework?
It's a bit of both, actually. It draws on scientific ideas about information, but it also goes into philosophical territory.
I can see that.
Exploring the nature of reality and how we perceive it.
Okay, so how does this Informatica help us understand our own lives, not just the big cosmic stuff?
Well, imagine reality is like a giant tapestry.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Informatica lets us zoom in and see the threads of information that create the patterns in the tapestry.
Interesting.
In Bauer's view, those threads are woven into everything, from how we communicate to how our societies function.
So instead of just seeing the finished tapestry, we're learning to see the threads that make it up.
Exactly. And understanding those threads helps us appreciate the tapestry more.
Right. So how do we know which threads to focus on?
Good question. Because it seems like we'd be drowning in information, right?
Totally.
That's where the idea of patterns comes in. Bauer says those patterns are like secret codes
Oh, interesting.
hidden within the metrics, and they're clues to understanding how the universe works.
Okay, so the metrics is the blueprint made of information. And by finding patterns in that information, we can understand how the universe operates.
You got it.
Wow.
It's like learning a new language. You know, once you know the grammar and vocabulary, you can understand complex sentences.
So Informatica is giving us the tools to understand the language of the universe.
That's one way to put it.
So how does this language play out in our daily lives? Can you give me an example of Informatica in action?
Think about how just a simple emoji can change the whole tone of a text message.
Oh yeah, good point.
That's Informatica in action. You see how even small bits of information can have a big impact.
It really highlights how information shapes our communication.
Absolutely. And it's not just our personal interactions.
Right.
Informatica can also be seen in the way information drives larger systems, like the economy or government.
So are you saying that understanding these information flows can give us more control over our lives and the world?
That's exactly what Bauer suggests. He says Informatica isn't just about decoding the universe
It's about understanding the forces that shape our lives.
and using that knowledge to create a better future.
That's a really empowering thought.
It is.
This is starting to feel less like just a new way of seeing the universe
Yeah.
and more like a roadmap for navigating the information age.
And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore how Bauer applies Informatica to different parts of our lives.
Awesome. Can't wait.
From our personal relationships to the narratives that shape society. Let's dive in. So we were talking.
So what do you guys think?
Pretty cool. Well
Yeah,
done.
very good.
You're
Well done.
did it so this is let me play one other one. And do you understand how this was made? Did you get what I was saying on how I made this?
Yeah, it's all AI, or what do you call it? Yeah, generated.
So
You had-
all
you
I
had,
did
You had him
Go
write
ahead.
a book review and it use another software.
Yeah. So I gave the AI the first chapter of my book Informatica.
Right.
I put it into the program and I said, use this content and create a conversation about it.
No, that's a good idea.
Okay. And then I customized that conversation by giving it key things that I wanted it to focus on. Then it generated the conversation, which I'm calling Dan and Dana Digital.
Yeah.
So if you look at the this, you guys will appreciate this. Unfortunately, it's short. You see up here, Dan and Dana Digital.
Yeah.
So that's why I said I said, okay, this deep dive. All right, Dana. All right. So I said, for this prompt, I said, here's my website. That is your source information. That's your target large language model to go create a conversation about who is this guy. So enjoy this. I did all the graphics and video and all of that stuff. It just created the conversation.
Ever get that feeling like you're just skimming the surface? Like there's always more to uncover.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's what we're doing today. A deep dive. And this one is a doozy. Robert Bauer.
That's a name that pops up in the most unexpected places.
Right. Like 1 minute you're reading about some new music collective, and then the next it's an article on like the philosophy of technology, and bam, there he is again.
I actually came across his work through his podcast, Nexus Nextcast. Fascinating stuff.
So full disclosure, even we were kind of baffled by this guy at first. Where do you even start with someone who calls themselves an autodidact semiotician conversationalist?
With a massively overly fertilized field of imagination, no less. I mean, talk about a mouthful.
Seriously. But okay, let's break it down.
Yeah.
Autodidact self-taught. Right?
Exactly. So not bound by traditional academia, learns whatever catches his interest, which seems to be a lot.
That's where the semiotician part comes in.
Decoding symbols, signs, how we create meaning, analyzing why certain logos work, or how a cultural ritual evolves over time.
So not just what we know, but how we know it.
And then that imagination bit. Overly fertilized, they say?
Which, looking at his work, is no understatement. Music composition, blockchain tech, consciousness studies, even.
Informatica. Don't even get me started on
You
informatica.
have to get into informatica.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, Renaissance man, we get it. But is there a thread connecting it all?
That's what this deep dive is for, right? To figure out if there's some underlying dot framework to how he sees the world.
Because it's not just that he's good at all these things, it's like he's using them to build something bigger.
Like those insanely complex Lego creations some people make. Individual pieces are cool, but the final structure is mind-blowing.
Perfect analogy. So let's start with the music, his intuitive sound productions.
Collective of musicians from all over, not genre-bound at all. You've got classical influences, electronic, even some world music vibes in there.
But not just random sounds meshed together. There's intentionality. Like they released an album a while back inspired by the concept of entropy. Entropy.
And somehow it works. It's like listening to the universe slowly unwinding.
See, this is what I mean. He's taking these heady concepts and making them experiential.
Which is where the purveyor of consciousness part of his self-description comes into play, I think.
Ooh, good point. That one threw me off at first.
Yeah.
Like, is he selling consciousness? But no, it's more about
raising awareness, inviting people into these deeper questions.
Yeah. And not just through music. His podcast, Nexus Nextcast, is a prime example.
Every episode, a new guest. Scientists, artists, philosophers, entrepreneurs, all over the map, topic-wise.
But they always find these weird, unexpected connections between their fields.
And Bauer is like this masterful conductor, guiding the conversation, drawing out those insights.
And then boom, he drops a book on informatica, which I still haven't wrapped my head around completely.
It's dense. It's like his grand theory of everything, how information shapes reality, the nature of knowledge, how to use it ethically.
Like a user manual for consciousness itself. And even his contact details are a puzzle. 5 + 12. What does it even mean?
Remember
it's like
that.
An open invitation to figure it out, to engage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So after all this, what's the takeaway? Is there a point to all this eclectic exploration?
Maybe the point is the exploration. This constant pushing of boundaries, this refusal to be put in a box.
He seemed to be saying, the world is interconnected, y'all. Stop compartmentalizing. Look for the patterns.
And that's something we could all benefit from, right?
Absolutely. So, dear listeners, if this whole Robert Bauer thing has piqued your curiosity, check out his website.
You might just find your own why along the way.
And who knows, maybe you'll even crack the code of that 5 + 12 mystery.
Until next time, keep those minds open and those connections flowing.
And happy exploring.
Oh, that's cool.
Where is it? Here we go. So, what did you think of that?
Pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. I like how I can see you could use that for a lot of different things, actually.
Yeah, I've done. I don't know. This just came out. The tool that I used to create the conversation just got released like a week and a half ago. So it's all brand new. And I said, all right, well, I can put stuff in and then you can create a conversation about it. You can't change the voices or any of that. So it's Dan and Dana for now. And they're getting ready to roll out a bunch of languages. But telling
I like
it,
the concept.
giving it information and saying, go talk about this, the conversation was very reasonable. In fact, in a lot of ways, it was really good. Better than some conversations I've had and heard all over the place. It was like, wait a minute, they actually that's a good question. And that was a good answer. Well, keep going. What else you got? So I found that all just kind of, wow, that was pretty cool. And then I used my own graphics. I did all the graphics and all the video separately. I just added it to the conversation, the captions and all that. So
No, it's pretty cool.
It did another one. I'll show you this. So this is a conversation This is a show I did with my old friend Joshua back at the end of November. And I uploaded the video or gave it the link, and I said, go analyze it and create a conversation about it. Oh, there we go.
All right, get ready to dive deep today
Okay.
because we're taking a look at this conversation between Robert and Joshua.
Oh, yeah.
They're exploring these connections. Get this, between cosmic frequencies, ancient civilizations,
Right.
and the evolution of consciousness.
It's going to be good. Their perspective is so fascinating, just the scope of it. They're not just talking about like personal growth or anything.
Right.
They believe that consciousness evolution is at the core of all societal changes.
Are you guys hearing the nuance in the emotion, the way that they're talking?
Yeah.
I mean, that level of authenticity is pretty amazing.
Well, it
Every-
sounds like a genuine conversation.
To tech revolution stems from shifts in human consciousness.
So they're saying it's not just random events that are shaping history,
Exactly.
but it's like there's this underlying current of consciousness.
Yeah, like an undercurrent driving everything
Push it forward.
They believe we're in this like period of rapid expansion of consciousness right now, a blooming, they call it.
Okay.
And that's why, we're seeing so much disruption across all systems. It's like shedding old skins, but on a global scale.
That reminds me of what Robert said about the fall of the Roman Empire. He was saying that like to try to understand the world today without acknowledging consciousness is like trying to analyze the fall of Rome
Right.
by only focusing on like the political players
Yeah.
and ignoring the massive cultural and philosophical shifts
Right, exactly.
that were happening underneath.
Powerful comparison really drives home their point.
Yeah.
Like imagine living through that time, those 60 or 70 years,
Wow.
where an empire that seemed eternal
Right.
just crumbled.
Crumbled. Wow.
They believe we're experiencing a similar magnitude of change right now, just at a faster pace.
That is wild. So if consciousness is evolving this rapidly,
Yeah.
where are we headed?
Ooh, that's a good question. This is where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
They bring up this concept of ancient amnesia.
Ancient amnesia.
The idea that humanity has forgotten
Yeah.
vast amounts of knowledge. Wow.
That ancient civilizations possessed.
Really?
Especially when it comes to understanding consciousness and the universe.
So it's like we've lost the instruction manual for our own minds.
Exactly.
And no wonder things feel so chaotic.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
They're fascinated
There's
by
a clip right
how
there.
much ancient cultures knew about the universe through systems like astronomy and astrology.
Okay.
They point out that these are the oldest data sets we have,
Wow.
accurately describing the cosmos in ways we're only beginning to grasp now with modern science.
So they're suggesting that the ancients might have had a more holistic understanding of consciousness,
Yeah.
seeing the universe as this living, interconnected web.
That's their hypothesis.
Wow.
That ancient cultures, they understood something fundamental about the interconnected nature of reality, something we're just rediscovering through fields like quantum physics.
Hold on, they're saying ancient cultures were more in tune with consciousness.
And this knowledge is encoded in astronomy and astrology.
Uh-huh.
How does that even work?
They don't really offer specific mechanisms for that,
Okay.
but they're really captivated by the precision of these ancient systems.
Okay.
They believe that there's a deeper meaning
Mhm.
embedded in these ancient ways of understanding the universe.
That's pretty wild. But how does all this tie into what's happening right now?
Well, they said something about historical cycles repeating.
Right? Yes, yes.
They believe historical events aren't random, but they're influenced by these cosmic cycles,
Okay.
almost like a predictable dance of energy.
Okay.
They specifically highlight Pluto's 240-year cycle.
Pluto.
Yeah, remember in 1776?
Right.
Pluto began its current transit,
Okay.
which coincided with the American Revolution.
I see where they're going with this.
Yeah.
They're saying that the birth of the United States wasn't just a coincidence.
Yeah, they're suggesting it was influenced by a specific cosmic cycle. What's even more intriguing is that we're on the verge of another Pluto return in 2024. They believe this could usher in another era of profound change, like a shift as significant as the birth of the United States.
Hold up. So Pluto's about to make a cosmic comeback,
Mhm.
and this could trigger even more disruption and transformation.
Possible.
What kind of changes are we even talking about?
Well, this is where they connect it to the current political climate.
Okay.
Think about all the upheaval we're seeing, the rise of figures like Elon Musk and Donald Trump.
Right.
They see them as part of this pirate ship metaphor, the old guard and pushing for radical change.
It's like they're riding the wave
Exactly.
of this cosmic energy,
Yeah.
whether they're aware of it or not.
And that's what they're suggesting, yeah.
Okay, so we've got ancient knowledge, cosmic cycles, a bunch of disruptors shaking things up.
Right.
It's a lot to take in. What role does technology even play in all of this?
Well, they mentioned blockchain.
Blockchain, right?
Yeah, it's a key part of their vision for the future.
Okay.
They see it as a tool that can fundamentally transform society, especially when it comes to systems that are often corrupt or inefficient.
Blockchain. So we're talking about this,
Yeah.
decentralized, transparent technology that's supposed to revolutionize everything.
Right.
From finance to voting.
Exactly.
But how do they specifically see it playing out in this context of a great awakening?
Well, they believe blockchain could usher in a new era of direct democracy.
Wow.
Bypassing traditional political structures that they see as, inherently corrupt and self-serving. Imagine a world where you could vote directly on issues that affect you without the need for intermediaries.
That's a pretty radical idea.
It is.
But I can see how it aligns with their whole vision of individual empowerment and a more decentralized society.
Absolutely.
They did acknowledge that technology is a double-edged sword, though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It can be used for good or for evil.
It can.
How do we make sure we're using it wisely?
They emphasize the importance of using technology ethically and in alignment with our highest values. They seem to believe that blockchain, in the right hands, could be a powerful tool for creating a more just and equitable world. But it all depends on how we choose to utilize it.
Right. It comes down to us.
It does.
Our choices, our intentions.
Exactly.
That's a lot to think about.
It is. They also believe that technology is just one piece of the puzzle. It's like they're saying that real change has to come from a shift in consciousness before we can really harness the potential of these tools.
I'm picking up on that too.
Yeah.
They spend a lot of time discussing the limitations of the current scientific paradigm, like arguing that it's too focused on the material world and ignores the power of consciousness.
Yeah, they even challenged the traditional view of quantum physics.
Right. What was it they said?
They called out what they see as the billiard ball model of quantum physics.
Billiard ball.
The idea that everything is just particles bouncing around.
No.
They argue that this misses the point entirely. They believe consciousness plays a fundamental role in shaping reality, something they feel the ancients understood intuitively.
So they're not just saying there's more to discover.
Right.
But they're suggesting our entire way of thinking about the universe is fundamentally flawed.
That's the impression I get. Yeah, it's like they're advocating for a more holistic and integrated understanding of science and spirituality, one that acknowledges the interconnectedness of everything and the power of consciousness to influence the physical world.
It's making me think about all those fringe ideas that suddenly don't seem so far-fetched anymore. They mentioned a plasma core at the center of the Earth.
Oh, right.
Instead of the traditional iron core model, and even touched on the idea of an expanding Earth.
While they didn't explicitly connect those concepts to consciousness evolution, it's clear that their worldview embraces this idea of a dynamic and ever-evolving universe.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying that change is the only constant, and we need to expand our thinking to embrace that.
Okay, so we've got consciousness evolving, a flawed scientific model,
Right.
and the universe constantly changing.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to make sense of all this?
Well, that's where those cosmic cycles come back into play. They believe that by understanding these cycles, we can gain insights into the rhythms and patterns of history and maybe even predict future trends.
So it's like we're looking for the cosmic weather forecast, trying to find those recurring patterns that can give us clues about what's coming next.
They believe these cycles are not just abstract concepts, but tangible forces that influence the flow of energy and the evolution of consciousness here on Earth.
It goes on for another 10 minutes or so, but what did you guys think of that?
That was good.
Yeah, it was good, Robert. But listen, mate, my wife's getting very impatient with me. She's waiting. She's done her eyebrows, and she needs to go out.
She's opened her purse and said, "Insert nuts," right?
I don't know. I'm about ready to hit the sack
Hey,
myself.
if you get a call of my wife later on and she's going off bloody driver, mate, hey, if you don't recognise the phone number, don't answer it. Don't answer it, okay?
I never do. I like voicemail. I like that swipe out of here. Well, yeah, I think it's a good time to call it. We're just over 3 hours, so yeah. It's been an interesting chat, and we've covered a lot of interesting stuff. And I think that we should all be very grateful for the shift that has shown up, and not only be aware of it, but get engaged with it and participate in it, because it's going to be good. We've been saying all year long, it's going to be shit to get through, but once we get on the other side, shit's going to get magic. And we are here now. We are here watching the magic motate.
I say just jump on the wave and ride it.
Get in it. The water's fine. There's still some filters and some cleanup and shit, but there's good stuff around the corner, and it's going to be amazing. A lot of it's going to be ugly. We're still going to get dumpster fires and train wrecks and shit like that, but there'll be fewer and far between because they've run out of fuel to flame the foolish, and they're all dying off on their own anyway because they're so confused about their reality changing that they didn't expect. So they're already in mental doing fornication in gymnastic mental land. I mean, they don't know what's going on, and that's okay. We're here to help the transition, but at some point you got to be accountable and realize, yeah, don't do that anymore, because if you do it again, you're going to be out. We all know that. So that's helping people make this awareness, this transitional awareness, is going to be real important. But I think the energy wave is going to help facilitate a lot of that. And you have to remember that it's not everybody's time, but it doesn't mean you can't try, right?
Right.
I mean, that's why we have you on, Terry. We know you need help. That's what we
Oh, mate, I brush it off. Don't worry. Payback, as I keep saying, payback's going to be a bitch, that.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, it's amazing you haven't got on my case. We're getting close to the microphone.
Well, you were actually a pretty good lad tonight. It's good.
Yeah, that's good. I enjoyed myself, really did.
Well,
So, right.
The shit show we went through in 2024, 2025's got to be a little brighter. Just saying.
Got to be.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. And I'm going to give our good buddy Jim a bloody hard time now. Later on, I'll give him a call and rap rag him.
Yeah, go bother him. Since
Don't worry.
Since we didn't have him here to keep you in line.
Every time I come on here, he says, "Oh, fuck, not you again."
Yeah. Well, that's how we all feel. He just says it.
Thanks, I much appreciate it. Hey, yeah. Well, nice to be loved. Okay. Well, somebody's got to. Hey, somebody's got to take the punishment. You know what I mean? I can. I'm an Aussie. I'm tough enough. I can take it.
Well, it's been a great year with the Geezer Geeks. Thank you guys. Thank everybody who watched, came, and put up with, because, honestly, we know you didn't have anything better to do, just like us. So we appreciate you sharing the time this year with the Geezer Geeks when you had nothing better to do, because it made it a lot more fun for us. Not sure about y'all, but thanks for sticking around and enjoying it. We'll see what 2025 brings. I think there's a whole lot of new content stuff that people are working on. And I know if one buddy of mine has retooled his whole podcast. I know 2 or 3 others are doing all their stuff. I'm having to think about Nexus and what I want to do with that. But 2025 is going to be the content creators' la la land. It's like the tools, the toys, the access, the less amount of being concerned about restrictive speech and getting your shit canceled. I wouldn't be surprised even if sometime next year we see some kind of, I don't know if it's legislation, what form it takes, legal or whatever. But I wouldn't be surprised if some kind of fund is set up for the people that were canceled to get their shit back.
Hey, when it comes to toys, mate, I'll have to go out and get myself a new job. I mean, to afford all these extra toys and programs, and I mean, I reckon I'm looking at about $3,000 for all the programs I've got already per year. I mean, maybe a little bit more. You know, I mean, people don't understand the cost behind running a podcast sometimes.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, because you can't buy these products right out anymore. They're all monthly subscription fees. Everything is a subscription,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
it's just the way they are.
Yeah, that whole model is going to change too, because it's not sustainable. There's too much bifurcation. So the disintermediation of all of the services has made it just a clusterfuck to even figure out what feed do you want to spend money on, what's unique about that content.
Yeah.
All of that is going to change because it'll be an app that goes to get what you want.
Yeah, and I find at times too, rather than get a year's subscription, go month to month plan. You can cancel, you get it, you can use it for what you need to do it with, then don't renew it next month. Bang. Just spend what you need. Pay that extra couple of dollars, but you're not paying the full yearly figure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Right.
make sure I use the program before I spend the money on it. Like I spend $80 a year for the bells and whistles for my Filmora program. You know, to me that's worth it. It's something that I use every day, just about every day.
Yeah. Well, my
And
dear wife's now waiting for me now. So I've got to get going, guys. So thank you for having me.
Give her our best for rescuing us from any more of your foolishness and have
I,
a great day.
I certainly will. And thank you, guys. I'll catch you up. Have a happy new year. Catch you later now.
you as
All
See
well,
ya.
right.
Mr. B.
Bye bye, guys.
See it. Well, I gotta say, one of my highlights of 2024 was meeting you guys and getting to hang out and be part of the Geezer Geek Squad. So I'm definitely looking forward to 2025 and some hijinks going on there.
All right.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of room for that. And before we went live, Clay and I were trying to get my guitar stuff sorted out, and we finally got it kind of dialed in. So I want to get more of that going on. Let's do some music, and the guys over at OU812.
I know them guys.
Yeah, great guys. I've been doing my chores, doing my Zen Zone, which is what I was talking about on the new State of Mind collection. The Zen Zone is I just give me some cleaning or something, and I was working around cleaning this and that. Looked at the feed, saw those guys were live. I've done it like 4 or 5 times. I just keep running into them. All of a sudden, they're live. I was like, God damn, I needed a break, and here you guys are. So, but they just tear it up. It's great.
Yeah, them guys are amazing. I mean, way more technical than me. I mean, you got guys over there doing all the tapping and, you know, the Eddie Van Halen stuff, especially OU812. I mean, that's where he got his name is from Van Halen. And the guy's just an amazing guitar player. And then I get up there and I play my, you know, my simple, you know, minor pentatonic scales, you know.
Yeah,
It's fun, though.
I'm looking forward to joining them sometime. But anyway, getting the equipment. I've also got my MIDI keyboard up. I'm doing some music to go along with those shows that I just played for you. So I'm taking that approach and creating a bunch of content based on my books and on my shows. And I don't know about you guys, but I thought that review of me was kind of spot on.
Yeah, it
No, it was
good.
pretty cool. I like that. That was a great concept to do something like that.
and its source material was my website. That's all it was. I just said, here, use this link and then go write a conversation about it. And it came back with an actual conversation,
Wow, that was really
which
good.
surprised the shit out of me. So I'm like, all right, give me some more of that. I'll do that all day long. Have fun with that.
All right,
All right,
gents, I
General,
think
what are you
I'm.
guys doing for New Year's? You just are you like you guys on New Year's Eve? You like me? You're in bed by 10.
Well, no, I'll stay up till New Year's. I'll probably just be smoking weed and hanging out on panels.
Well, last year we did the Night Owl Lounge. Well, it'll probably be the same thing this year, where we celebrated every time zone all the way to Hawaii. So it was like
Sweet.
an 8 hour stream.
I'll be hanging out with you guys then.
Is that what you're doing New Year's Eve, G?
I think so.
So what time do you start?
We start usually like 8 or 9 p.m. our time because
Mm-hmm.
nobody's rang in yet.
You bringing in guests throughout the night, in and out?
We didn't. We just spent the whole time. Whoever popped in chat, and we played games online, and we had NORAD tracking stuff, and played Santa games and all kinds of stuff for New Year's. And then when somebody celebrated or they counted the clock down, then we switched to it and showed it online. We got in a little bit of trouble because of the music,
Mm.
but oh
Yeah.
well, we did it, and that was it.
Well, now you can play copyrighted music if you're not a monetized channel, and it usually it won't affect your channel too much.
Well, yeah,
Um,
it didn't affect us. They did silence a few things, kind of like what they did with the Whitney Houston thing. They silenced it in 50 regions or whatever.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, some of them you've got to be careful because so that's what a global block is, and a global block will make it so all of these other countries can't see your stuff. Uh, but you can beat them and get by them. And AI has come so far now. If you get a copyright, you can have AI just cover it up.
Well, this year we'll probably do it on Rumble. We'll probably do Rumble live instead of YouTube.
Ooh, Rumble, you can play, and you can play all kinds of copyrighted music over there, all kinds of
Yep.
fun stuff.
Yeah,
Now,
you can, yeah.
I I just don't like the Rumble Studio because they don't have audio control like some of these other studios. My buddy streams over on Rumble every day. He's got over 1,000 subscribers. He's been using this Streamlabs Talk Studio.
Yeah, it's
And
compatible with OBS Streamlabs.
yeah, he uses Streamlabs Talk Studio, and we had like 15 people up on panel.
Wow.
And it's just audio?
No, no, it's just like this. The studio looks exactly like
So you had 15 people, video and audio on
video, audio.
Nice. Nice.
Yep, and it has all the audio controls like this one does. That's the one thing I don't like about the Rumble Studios. You just don't have the audio controls like you do in these other studios. And as a musician, we kind of need that.
Yeah. Is that a OBS plugin?
What? No,
The one you're talking about, the
No.
Streamlabs.
Streamlabs.
no, no. It's just Talk Studio. No, it's
Oh.
not an OBS plugin.
So Talk Studio is for Streamlab.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think there is an OBS. There is an OBS and Streamlabs connection that you can put
Yeah,
together.
there's an OBS, there's a Streamlab plugin that works with OBS, so you get all your features and everything from Streamlabs, and it integrates it
Yeah.
into OBS. So they
Yeah,
are
get
connected.
all
kind of,
your
but they're two
alerts and
separate
stuff.
things.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like when somebody super chats, it'll pop up on your screen, or if somebody subscribes, you can have it pop up on your screen. All kinds of cool stuff like that.
Well, that's one of the things that we sure saw this year. Uh, Gee, you and I beat the hell out of these things back in the summer, and at the state they were in then, and look how far they've all come since.
Right.
Lord Spike, good to see you, my brother.
They're pretty flawless now. I mean, they've changed a lot of stuff that we were trying to get workarounds on or try to figure it out. Now it's pretty user friendly.
They all just keep producing and making improvements.
Yeah, like all these studios are kind of the same. They're all the same, but a little bit different.
They're all basically the same format, the same architecture, in the way that it's done. I've been really having a good chuckle at all of these different AI tools, all having a dark background and just being very sparse. And I'm going, you guys finally got it, huh? Nobody wants to see a bright screen staring them in the face.
Right.
You know, so that's been kind of cool. And they all have basically the same tool and menu layout too, which is very interesting. It's like, okay, so you guys are basically all using the same model because nobody's got time to do a user interface because you don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to look like yet. So just make it easy and then you can figure it out. So I don't know. But the change that we saw was pretty amazing. I think that's one of the reasons we had to go for that ride, G. Go in there and just beat these things up because we knew that there was something coming or they were going to get there eventually, but we had to see where they were.
That's right. It's just
And
like buying a car. You gotta go around, kick the tires, and see what she'll do.
yeah, when we first got the Riverside thing going, I was thinking if this thing stays good, it's going to be pretty good. And boy, they just keep rolling out shit every couple of weeks. You're getting new features that they're just now you can do this, now you can do that. Like wow, nice. So I mean, and the same thing, Gemini, Google's Gemini. I don't know if you've played with it, Clay, but that son of a bitch that dropped hard and smoked a whole bunch of people.
No, I haven't messed with Gemini yet. I'm
Oh,
still playing with Chat GPT.
aside from just the benchmarks on the training and the speed and everything, the interface and everything is absolutely amazing. It's a complete suite of doing everything. Do your images, do your videos, do your scripts, do your whatever.
See, that's what I want. I would like one that does it all. One that I can do my AI pictures, I can do my AI music, I can do, all of that stuff all in one studio would be freaking awesome instead of having to pay three different companies subscription fees so I can do it all.
So this is, I don't know. So I've got Xfinity, and Xfinity gave me a year of Pro Perplexity for free because I'm a customer. Have you seen Perplexity?
No.
Okay, highly recommend. So this is what you're talking about, Clay. Let me get rid of this. So you see that?
Yep.
So it's an open source AI platform that does everything: image creation, model training, video creation, audio creation, face swapping. You can change your large language models.
What is that? Mimic PC?
MimicPC.com. So these are individual apps that you build, or individual functions that you build into your agent, right? You say, oh, I want to use this one for this. This is voice. This is some video, or let's see.
Image generator.
Yeah, this is the advanced voice conversation system.
Oh, that's what you're using for yours.
No,
like
I
the
use Notebook
conversation system.
LM.
But I think that's the same thing, right?
It's the same thing, yeah, same function.
Like the
yeah.
conversation system
Yes.
based.
It's got the entire toolkit, face fusion shit. And what's interesting about these guys is that they charge by the hour, by the time that it uses, not by the tokens.
Oh.
Okay, so it's processing. So you choose the models. You can see the hardware configurations, right?
Yep.
So you can go, so you choose by the horsepower, how quick you want it done, basically. The faster you want it done, the more you pay for the time that it will take.
Right.
So this is where I think this kind of direction is what we're going to see with all of this. You're not going to be, all of the image tools that are out there now will be in a model like this, and you'll be able to just select it and then add it to your agent stack and say, I want to use this, I want to use this, I want to use that. And it'll be a customizable open source AI expert toolbox, basically. So, highly recommend you check that out. Before I let you go, I didn't see that. I didn't mention this because it's geeky, and I don't think people would have really appreciated it, but I didn't see this coming, which kind of blew me away, because it's kind of like one of those, well, that was a quiet rollout of holy shit.
Well, I think it was 3 shows ago you called it about all the AI stuff is going to hit a bubble, then there's going to be one or a couple that's going to do everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And here we are.
And we're seeing it now.
I even just got done testing another app for YouTube.
You did?
Yeah. I'm part of their, what do they call that? It's not called like a test team, but I get to test a lot of the functions before they come out. Like a beta tester almost.
So here is
research. I'm part of the research, YouTube research team.
Sweet.
You have to get picked to do it, and you have to sign a contract for a year at a time.
So here's the other. Nobody saw it. I didn't hear anybody talking about Amazon in the background building an AI juggernaut. They weren't even in the conversation. It's Anthropic, Microsoft, Open Grok, right? Well, these guys went and built a fucking
Amazon,
monstrosity.
Huh? Amazon.
So it does its models. It creates models. It does visions. And you can take and create this. Palantir is part of the tech, which is, they're just amazing. Shutterstock, all these people involved. So there's no video here. There's the ecosystem. Well, let me go to Perplexity here. So this is Perplexity. This has replaced any kind of search or anything that I used, Bing or Google or whatever. Let's see. Showing Amazon Echo, Amazon Nova. Oh, you guys can't see that. Okay. This is Perplexity. This is what I use for my search. That I got from Xfinity. Thank you very much. Thanks for the freebie.
Hey everyone, my name is Surya Elvi. I'm a Principal Product Manager at Amazon AGI, and I'm really excited to discuss Amazon Foundation Models with you today. In this session, we'll begin with a recap of yesterday's announcement. Then we'll dive deeper into the capabilities of these understanding models.
Let me see where this.
At their core, these models deliver frontier intelligence, enabling image, documents, and videos, process the documents, Gemini, text, but
this is a bunch of geeky shit, but basically
the model what it sees. We've also seen its impressive performance in instruction following and function calling, which enable it to take real-world actions. This is clearly demonstrated by performance on benchmarks such as IF eval and Berkeley function calling leaderboard. Visual intelligence, instruction following, action taking. Can you see where I'm going with
video that description? This isn't the one I wanted to share with you, but basically there's a video out there that shows the entire ecosystem of the way that this thing is designed, and it's basically everything you can think of to do business with is an AI agent. And you can go get that, a piece of that, configure it the way you want, and build your own system.
Wow.
And it includes doing images. And the image tool was amazing. The video tool was amazing. All of it was like, okay, well, this came out, and everybody just kind of went, where'd that come from? So Amazon has taken the approach that they can run business because they already do. And they can use these tools to create the things that they need to run the business and then make that available to all the people that want to run a business. It's like, all right, goodbye, enterprise. See ya, SAP. You know, you guys, this was coming. This is what I did in my System X Technologies stack. But anyway, so yeah, there's the change this year has been phenomenal. It's been awesome. And I think we're just seeing the beginning of, basically we're in the wind up.
I agree.
So
yeah, definitely.
Lots of fun to be had. A lot of things that are going to get even better than they are now. And I got to say, you gents, for, you know, at the end of the year, you all looking much better than you did when we started.
Wow.
Well, I didn't get any
that.
younger.
Maybe it's the AI filters on my camera or something.
Yeah, we got to do one of those shows with the avatars. I mean, that tech, I mean, it's still a little nascent, but when it gets good, we're going to have to drop that in.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we could make our avatars, and we can have your other program write the script and the voices for it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even have to be in the show. We can just be in the chat watching and hanging out.
Well, you remember the one that I did where it did a review on what Josh and I talked about?
Yeah.
I can drop one of our geezer shows in there and have it do the same thing.
Right.
That I'm going to have to do that just to see
what it does,
how totally fucked up it's going to be. I imagine it's going to come back with, you know, what were these guys? We think that they're a bunch of old guys because they sound like they're wandering around and got dementia or something.
Give it one where Terry's in there, so we can try to figure out Australia, and then one that has Jim's 2 or 3 stories told in it. See what they come up with, Jim.
Well, I've got clips. I can drop those shorts and clips in.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, there's way too much fun to be had with these. And this to me is an example of using these tools that people have all this FUD about for their actual purpose, what they're actually really good at, and use them. It's literally using these tools is no different than using the tools that we've been using. It's no different than using Office for email and Word for documents and PowerPoint for presentations and Canva for graphics and all this. It's like, okay, now you've got a tool that can make this extra stuff that you usually had to spend a lot of hard time doing. And now it does it for you. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, and it's only going to get better, but it's still going to go through. We're seeing the wars right now. They're all trying to, it's getting so, the cost is getting so low. The energy is still high, but the utility, the value proposition is, that's why they're all like 10, 20 bucks a month. So that's going to keep going, I think. And then I think Musk Grok already kicked the shit out of OpenAI in all the benchmarks.
Yeah.
And X is obviously powered by Grok.
Right.
And X is kicking some ass in spite of all of the blue-haired crazy people.
There'll probably be a new one out next week.
A new
Seems
X.
every week there's a new AI outdoing the next. So, I mean, it's a race right now, and that's why it's getting so good. Is because, they're racing each other. It's neck and neck. They're trying to get to the top there. So.
No, we're not in Kansas no more.
I think I'll go find me a snack.
Yeah, it's good time to wrap it up. Well, gents,
Yep.
It's been a great year. Thank you again. Thanks for everybody who's wasted their time with us as we've wasted ours. And so it's been a collective waste.
But you definitely catch the geezers back in 2025.
There'll be some geezing going on because there's going to be even. We thought we had stuff to geeze about this year.
Yeah.
It's just getting started. Just getting ready to crank
Geezer
it.
gazing year.
All right, everybody. Gentlemen, thank you again, as always. Blessings and Happy New Year. Do you. Don't think it's selfish, it's selfness. Do what makes you so that you can be you for yous. And all yous. And all y'all yous. Right? Does that make any sense?
Right.
I think so.
A lot of U's in there.
There's some using going on. All right, everybody.
All right.
Take care. Happy New Year. Have a good one.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody.
There it is. Are we live or is it still Memorex?